Our biggest thanks on this episode of Watch Out for Fireballs belongs to Jade, who sponsored the episode. But you may be asking, who else gets thanked? Well, that's where I tell you Lino Bernard Smith Jr., Johannes Bretz, Duncan Chapman, Anchorite, and Danyan Greatorex. They are also patrons. They went to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv and helped us continue doing what we're doing. Earlier in the beginning of this little thing, where it sounded like I was slurring my words, I'm trying not to do plosives on the mic. I assure you, it's only 4 p.m. I don't really drink anymore, and it's only 4 p.m. Thank you. This is Gary Butterfield.
This is Cole Ross.
And you're listening to Watch Out for Fireballs. It is a Games Club podcast.
And this week is part 1 of 2 of us discussing Metal Gear Solid 5, which is an open-world stealth game developed by Kojima Productions and published by Konami for the PS4, Xbox One, and PC in 2015. And let me be the first to say, 2 men enter, 1 man leaves.
Yeah, this is ready for Thunderdome. We're gonna figure it out. It's time to fight.
Ooh, yeah.
To figure out whether something is
popping my knuckles.
Yeah. Get ready for 7 hours of playtime. That's exhausting, Bonesaw. I'm gonna endure you, Spider-Man. Rope-a-dope. This is something we want to do for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
This is all kinds of big feelings in your boy Gary Butterfield from this, because it is the challenge. So thank you, Jade. First off, for executive producing this. Thank you very much, Jade. This was originally going to be an episode. This was Cole's Vanity Pick month, so we bumped it to a 2-parter, Final Fantasy 12 style.
Yep.
So thank you, Jade. This is all kinds of critical challenges for Gary Butterfield, because this is at its best. It's one of the best playing games I've ever played.
Yep.
Some of the most fun I've ever had. It is all of the creator's worst excesses on display and concentrated. Like, it's not, in terms of volume and the whole product, it's not the most. But when it happens, it's an extremely high dose.
Yeah.
And it's part of something, it's a nice little capper to something I'm calling in my head the summer of goodbyes. Which is a very soft and sweet kind of phrasing for us doing this in Final Fantasy 12 back to back, and me being like, and I like Final Fantasy 12 narratively a lot more than this. I enumerated at length like the things that are like the complicated feelings I have on that. Like, I like that game. I think it's a good game. I like this game. But the of me just being like, you know what, some juices are not worth the squeeze, and some creators and modes are just not for me, and I need to stop trying to force it.
Yeah.
Either professionally or as just a fan. Like, there is I really hate this creator and his attitudes, towards things, the way that he articulates himself. I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze, or it's that deep in a general sense. And one game, maybe Death Stranding is fun to play, but I don't want to pay the price anymore. For what it is to play the things that he sometimes, it's a crapshoot whether it'll be fun to play. I don't want to roll those dice anymore. Yep. I'm done. And I'm putting the stake in the sand. Like, I will not have enough fun to make a Metal Gear 3 or Metal Gear 4 episode fun.
Oh God, nobody would ask you to do Metal Gear 4. That would be torture.
Well, some people love that shit. Like some people just want to hear me get real angry, but like I'll preview it for you. This is real fucking dumb and indulgent and doesn't add up to as much as the creator thinks it does. Like the actual message of this is not actually that deep. But you spend a lot of time repeating the themes of it and telling you those themes. That is the Metal Gear Solid 4 episode. Kabam. Soldiers are good. Diarrhea, unclear. I do not know what he thinks about diarrhea yet. We'll have to wait for like the Phantom Pang to get his thoughts on stomach cramping spray.
The Phantom Pang is very good.
Thank you. Just pulled that one right out of the pocket too, or like right off the dome. So I think I'm done with this guy. I guess is my way of saying it. And I that can probably disappoint some people who really want like a watch out for fireballs on the games and stuff. But I everything I'm going to get from him, I processed and got from playing this again. Yeah. It's the summer of goodbyes, and it's a complete goodbye.
Yes. And I think that this is a worthwhile one to get around because, like you said, when the play sings, it sings more.
Good fucking God.
Oh my God.
It's like the most fun. Like it is masterful when it is at its best to me. Like I know people who like are just like, man, I hate that this turns into a shooter. Give me more fire whale stuff. And I'm like, wow.
Okay. I'm not as down on the fire whale, but also like, why would you trade anything? Why would you trade the shooting away for anything in this? Or not even like the shooting, just the core gameplay loop of like dismantling a base. Like I played this game for 45 hours and that did not get old to me.
No. And I only noticed the things I didn't like about this are in the micro and macro moments in which I wasn't doing that.
Yeah.
It is a perfect gameplay execution, I think. And I use that word like with intention. Like I think that is as good as that stuff gets in games.
And you talk about just the lead up to this, you're trying to just get your thoughts in order and brace for this and decide what the challenge for you is going to be. For me, I think that the challenge for me has been trying to come around basically to accept that some of this just comes down to like, oh, this not only is it that this doesn't bother me, it's just that like I can kind of, there's enough Vaseline on the lens, be it from nostalgia, be it from just like, antibodies to the presentational aspects of this. It's just kind of like, just the snap to grid on this is a little bit more generous in my head. So you can either say, okay, it's a cilantro thing and this doesn't taste like soap to coal, or, it's just something about the sensitivities. For me, it's coming to terms with like, trying to figure out, does that make me like a lazy critic if I just say, oh yeah, this didn't bother me because like there's, justification for it and it resonates with whatever else is there. And, just like tonally, it's just part of this thing and part of the cost of admission. Understanding that it is, that it does come up short and definitely doesn't rise to the level that I would want it to if we're grading this on the curve of every time somebody opens their mouth is an opportunity to do something cool. And when you don't, you mess it up. And when this game opens its mouth, it messes it up a lot.
Yeah. Easy 8 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
That somebody says something it is not worth hearing in this. And that's, not, most people are not bothered by that kind of thing. I don't think it makes you a failure as a critic at all, or says anything qualitative about either of us. It's something about the mode that I am in now, just as a person, not even as a critic, where I am really, I want there to be a lot more intention around the works I consider in general, for my investment. Yeah. So it's not even, it's a juice and squeeze thing. Like I said before, like I'm just trying to be more conscious about how much I'm squeezing to get the juice that I get. Yeah. And I lack the gene that just like sits back and relaxes and is just like, you said something during that, you said cost of admission. Yeah. That's a huge part of the discourse around this creator and his proclivities. Yeah. I don't like paying a cost of admission if the cost is not additive.
Right.
to me. I don't think anybody gets anything out of it. Like a cost of admission in real life supports somebody for a job. You know, the cost is money, and I get that. They're going to go and exchange that for rent. This is just a cost that doesn't go anywhere. You know, it doesn't add to me. I don't think it makes, I think it hurts the creator. I don't think it's helping him express his ideas better a lot of the time.
Right.
Like, you know, so it's just waste, you know, and it activates my waste aversion.
Yeah, there's another side of this. So this is not my last Metal Gear game that I'm going to play, and it is also not my last Kojima game that I'm going to play. You know, I like Death Stranding, and a part of this is Metal Gear Solid 5 to me represents, you know, in a lot of ways, and Death Stranding kind of confirms this, that he's headed in a better direction than where he was. There is improvement that is being shown here to me, you know, as somebody who has played a whole bunch of his stuff. And how do I express that without, you know, coming out and being saying, just for the purpose of simplification, that like, oh yeah, this is good just because it's not as bad as it was before. The fact that Metal Gear Solid 4 preceded this, or, and, you know, Peace Walker, who played Peace Walker, the fact that this is in the same series as Metal Gear Solid 4 is fucking wild when you think about it, right? So
he
like,
can be on a trajectory.
Yes.
Like I can admire that in terms of getting somewhere. He's had a really long time to get onto that train.
Much of the time. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's how many chances do you give somebody 40 years of chances? You know, like what is to me, there's just a limit of like me being like, this is not worth my time. You know, like I just don't want to give him another shot. Like he's like a drug addict relative,
and
you know,
I'm also not trying to convince you to give him another shot.
Yeah, no, I know. I would love to, like, there's also a part of this that's, boy, we're all over the place, but that's what's going to happen. It's a messy, unfocused podcast that's confused in its theming. I am allergic to skipping cutscenes.
Yeah,
I kind of want to play the play of Death Stranding. I don't just want to skip everything because I want the edited and concise version of a context for what I'm doing. You know, I don't want to just have these characters with their names that represent what they are talking directly at me, the player.
Yeah.
But I just want to try the play. My understanding of Death Stranding, and I haven't played it, is that the play is better and the theming is more cogent. It's not less talky or underlining the same themes.
Yeah.
Like there is still that, like, listen, I need to have characters tell you things over and over and over and over and over, or you're not going to get it. That is something that I just don't want a version with that. So I could experience the creator who's getting better at making video games. If within me, my problem, I was down just skipping the cutscene, but I can't. I just want the version of it that makes sense.
Yeah, you want the version of it that does not, by virtue of the way that it is paced, make your head want to explode.
Well, it's not even just pacing. It's to me, it feels a little insulting the way that he, you know,
it constantly hits it. Yeah,
reiterates things. I think that is, it makes me feel like I am a baby.
Yeah,
like he is a Teletubby, and he is entertaining me. He's giving me a Sesame Street message over and over and over and over and over. You know,
it's somebody who thinks that they are communicating and using symbolism well, but on the off chance that they're not, they really need to make sure that you know that they were using that. Count how many times in this game somebody uses the word phantom when they could have used any other word than that.
And there's a thing. It's like the guy in Wayne's World who keeps saying "I love you." And like when the guy's like, yeah, man, thanks. Love you too. He's like, no, man, I love you. Like I feel trapped in that kind of situation where I can't, it's a one-sided conversation where I cannot tell somebody that I understand and get them to stop fucking talking. Like, and I hate that. I don't want to be cornered at a Denny's by somebody who has it all figured out. You know, who has figured out something that I feel like I already have figured out. Like the other half of this equation that's on the other half of storytelling is what he's trying to say. And outside of Metal Gear Solid 2, I don't think it's very complicated. Like what he's trying to say. I don't think it's a rich message that has a lot of emotional resonance for me. If I think of the best version of it, it can be a story worth telling, but only if it's well told. It's not a brand new story that's never been told that I will take any form of it I can get. You know?
Yeah,
It doesn't feel like that to me.
Yeah, and on my side, I really wish that he had expressed this better, because as a concept guy, it's it's worth looking at, like, what language, the hegemony of language does, to individual people, and the way that, like, that is a space worth exploring. It's just that, like, he's capable of saying, like, yeah, this is actually, like, cool and maybe a story worth telling, but then, like, delivering on it in a way that is not embarrassing.
The moment where that gets underlined is one of the funniest moments in this, where the villain of this talks about being against colonialism and the hegemony of language. I mispronounced that, but it's it's like, okay, and then he goes, and I'll turn the world into a language of nukes.
And
hey, I'm like, yeah.
Also, you're like 2 feet from my face right now, staring directly at me.
Yeah, it just ended up becoming like, I don't think that one of the things I think about with this dude, this will come out in a big way when we talk about Ground Zeroes, is I think that when he stumbles upon something that is profound and serious, he is not responsible enough with it. This is not a man who should be talking about Guantanamo Bay or vagina bombs or colonialism, like, because he makes them said through a supervillain named Skullface, who's going to make a language of nukes and puts vagina bombs in, like, and that dichotomy of, like, this is an extremely silly supervillain,
and then also wanting the gravitas of playing with this space. It's like, look at this. It's a little wanting to have your cake and eat it too.
It's extremely wanting to have her. And that for some people is the spice. Like, some people are like, man, that's fucking awesome. I love that this just gets stupid as hell and then is serious as hell. But to me, these are real things. Like, call me a school marm woke scold. These are all real things. Like, colonialism is a real thing. Sex assault a real thing. The sexism in this game, like, that's a real thing that real people get hurt by. I don't want Skullface to scream in my face about it like a supervillain. I want it treated with gravity. And one of the Kojima illusions is that somehow, for a lot of folk, and there's no judgment, I don't get it, but there's something there where people will still feel that gravity despite the fact that Skullface is yelling it in your face. Like, that gravity is not diminished by the gigantic robots and, stuff like that. Like, it all exists side by side, and I don't have that strength of compartmentalization. It really bugs me. And then there are a lot of little, like, gameplay things too that feel very arrogant to me. Like, you wait through 2 minutes a helicopter every single time you do a mission. There are little things like that too that feel like being in love with a camera shot stuff that I think is arrogant. Like, there's a lot of Jonathan Blow in this. There's a lot of, like, I think this is really good, so you're going to sit down and watch it. Patronization in this, and I try to understand the person who agrees with, and you can have a different opinion on this. Tons of people love that stuff in The Witness. It's fine. But the person who agrees with me about the Jonathan Blow, here is a philosophy speech I like, watch it, but doesn't mind it when Kojima does the same thing. But it's not a philosophy speech. It's not a real life intellectual who has thought about this stuff. It's Skullface talking about the language of nukes. How do you square that circle?
Tying it is Skullface, who is in an act of pageantry. It's impossible to call it anything other than that. It's impossible not to consider it anything but embarrassing to me. So loosely weaving the theme and the incident of the story together, with declarations about his backstory. It's like one of those webs made by a spider. Like, how you see those photos, like, here's a web made by a regular spider, here's a web made by a spider on LSD. It's like one of those webs that ends up going through.
It's complicated. And I think the other a secret spice that is missing in me that a lot of people have is an appreciation for complexity, kind of just in general. So like, when organizations dissolve and then reform under slightly different names, really consistently in the lore, of this series. For some folk, that is like keeping that kind of stuff straight, like having the conspiracy board to keep, what the Patriots legacy is. Yeah. The philosopher's legacy that turned into the Patriots, that turned into the AI, that turned into blankety bloop. Like that stuff is very catnip to some people. And to me, it just feels like sloppy and non-additive.
I'll say this. I'm one of those people that it's catnip to, like I'm the person who, I said this a year and a half ago. If I see the word progenitor virus, like in a document in a game, I'm like, oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah. Spencer?
Like, Oswell? Oh, yes. Yeah. No, the Banshee was designed for Spencer, but it was actually made by Trevor. So it's you might, a lot of people get that wrong. He didn't make the mansion himself. It was a different person. I'm that kind of mark, and I can't explain it, can't justify it. I think back when we talked about 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors, I talked about just the admiration of an intricately made clock that doesn't keep good time.
Yes. Yeah, like a broken, like a very, very fancy broken clock, where like every like 7th second is a second and a half.
Yeah.
And by the end, it is spiraled out of control and you have no idea what time it is.
Right.
It just has a lot of parts, AKA visual novels. Like it doesn't, and I get that. And the thing that it makes the difference, so I like that in Resident Evil as well. Like I roll my eyes a little bit, but I can go with it, is that Resident Evil isn't trying to tell me anything about the world. Like it's not about language or colonialism or war. It's also like amazingly less sexist because this is an incredibly sexist game. And again, I'm going to sound like a school marm, woke school shithead during this. Like some people will be very annoyed by the woke mob that is canceling Kojima during this, but it's an exceedingly sexist game. He's dealing with real life stuff and then using the big, intricate clock that keeps bad time.
Yep.
He's doing all these things that just feel bad together with real life.
Yep.
To me,
Yeah.
I can't separate them. I don't have the skills.
Yeah. So, like editorially, like if people are saying, oh man, we really wanted you to play Metal Gear Solid 3, a fair amount of stuff that ends up the kind of falling out of the purview of the show. Maybe I got a stream of Metal Gear Solid 3 in me at some point. It's just, it's not something that Gary needs to, no one will have fun to be conscripted to. Yeah. Also into the Kingdom Hearts Valley at this point. Yeah.
It's in the Kingdom Hearts Valley. Like they're very similar creations to me, like in terms of being poorly paced things that dally with big themes. They're just creators that I cannot click with, and I'm sick of putting my hand on the stove. This is a dream job. I'm very grateful for it. I'm really grateful to our patrons for doing it. I'm also not like a robot who has to do what the input is put into me. Like I still want to have a good time, and I think I do better work when I have something more interesting to say than just like, this is really like this flits with some interesting stuff, but is really poorly told. That's going to be the end of it. Like I don't have anything more to say about Metal Gear 3. Metal Gear Solid 3. So we'll get into it. This stuff will come out, but I want to get first principles out there. One, because like it's useful to know the lens going into this, I think. For people listening to this, I want to set expectations because this is a creator that engenders a lot of passion. Both ways.
Yes.
So I want people to know, like, if it is going to genuinely discomfort you to hear the themes and storytelling style of this criticized, and also defended, to a point, but both will be on offer. If that's going to bother you, you should know. There are things that I really love that I don't want to, like, for example, like I love Deus Ex. I think that the stilted dialogue and weird performances that are endearing to me. I understand people who would just think that's bad dialogue. I wouldn't want to listen to 7 hours of podcasts tearing it apart.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't be for me. That's fine that people think that, but it wouldn't be fun for me. I want people to know in advance so they can decide whether they're going to have fun.
Yeah. And also for our sake too, I think, because for people who aren't aware, like we will maybe say a couple things back and forth to each other, to get a feeling like, oh, did you see this? Not all the time. And so it's, we're not talking too much about this outside of like in the green room saying like, oh, where are you at in this or so? I think for us as well, for the purpose of kind of, establishing kind of the bounds of things. on the way in, I think will just make the proceedings go more smoothly for everybody involved if everything is laid out clearly, right? You don't have an argument without establishing terms, and I mean argument like in the platonic sense of here is my rhetoric and reasoning,
my stance,
or why this thing works. Yes,
I'm not. We're not. Mommy and Daddy aren't fighting.
Yes,
like we don't try to present a unified front on this show.
Mm-hmm.
We agree a lot because we have similar taste, but we don't put any effort into presenting a unified front.
Right.
So, it's good to get that stuff out. Not that it's like I talk about Kojima a lot. So it's not like a secret when I think about it, but I have spent more time in preparation of this episode because it's the summer of goodbyes, reading more about it and spending more time chewing on my feelings about it than I usually do. And I usually spend a lot of time, so it's quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 25 minutes in, do you want to get started?
Let's get started. We got generalities to get through. It's a stealth action game. You shoot real good. I think this is all useful. These episodes are going to run long because things about Kojima run long. I have no bad feelings about getting our principles.
No,
out.
neither do I. It's funny to say. It's just funny to underline it. Yeah. So this does not take place after Metal Gear Solid 4. You might be thinking of Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. If you're calling it about elder care, that was last week. Today we're talking about botany. But this takes place in the Big Boss era. It's a direct sequel to Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, the PSP. I always want to say PS Vita, but no, PSP. Portable game. You're playing Big Boss as he is in pursuit of the shadowy organization called Cypher and its leader Skullface. In search for revenge for something that happens at the end of Ground Zeroes.
Yes. This was published in 2 parts. So there's a prologue called Ground Zeroes that came out in 2014, and then the Phantom Pain came out in 2015. We're going to talk about them as a whole piece, even though there are some minor gameplay differences. Yeah. They're all additive. Phantom Pain plays a lot better than Ground Zeroes.
Yes.
Lots of little tiny touches in that, but it is one complete story. There was weird controversy about this. You were supposed to be able to go back to the area of Ground Zeroes in Phantom Pain, and that never made it in. There's a lot of stuff in development of this. We'll talk about it being unfinished.
Yeah. This looks and feels different from most of the other Metal Gear games that we've covered. It feels maybe a little bit similar to Metal Gear Solid 4 when it lets you play it. When Metal Gear Solid 4 lets you play it. But this is third person instead of a semi-overhead kind of deal. You have full control over the camera. And the control scheme is not this weird, complicated nightmare. I think in the Metal Gear Solid 2 episode, I referred to moving Snake around. It's like you're piloting a mech. Yeah.
It's the game where you accidentally lay down.
Yeah.
Constantly, like you're passing out drunk. I meant to crouch, but I actually lay down on my belly.
Whoopsie.
That's Metal Gear Solid 2. Metal Gear Solid 2 does not control well. This controls a lot better. There's still some like esotericness in terms of like which buttons do what.
Yeah.
That are like series mainstays. But once you acclimate to those, it feels like a video game. And there's a lot of discourse about like dogma and game controls and whether that's good or not. I think that, you can make an argument for either case. In a game where reflexes matter and you are doing action-y shit, it is really good to have something that makes unintuitive sense.
Yeah. I'm not familiar with that discourse, but I think broadly, I would say improving things is good.
It's fucking exhausting, dude. There's like it's not good. It's not good discourse.
I kind of didn't care when you went from pressing A to accept to pressing X on the PlayStation. Circle and X kind of doesn't
there's
mess
a
with me.
Whole crew out there who are like, this game has triangle to accept. That's good.
I'm gonna
just like, I'm gonna accidentally say no constantly. That's good. Why? Like having a an agreed upon language of a medium is good.
Yeah.
It's how you communicate things.
Oh, sounds like somebody didn't play Metal Gear Solid 5.
Yeah. Everyone who uses X to accept will die. And it is somehow a statement on something or other. But yeah, so this controls like a video game, and it controls well like a video game. It's super snappy, super good shooting, and the biggest thing is somewhere along the line, Metal Gear, my big complaint in the games before this, even the ones that I like on the balance is that getting caught isn't a death sentence, but may as well be.
It is a time thing. Yeah.
It is a timeout or a death sentence. You get to choose to go into the punishment locker and just kind of wait, which might have been really neat in like the mid 80s, when this guy got a start, but eventually became outmoded, in my opinion. Yeah. Or you just fight unlimited waves of guys until you die. Now they give you part of the kind of grand toolbox you get in this, which is a point of its own, I believe. You do a lot of stuff if you get caught. Getting caught is not the end. It is the beginning of your fun.
Yep, and it is not the beginning of a straight flow chart where just you proceed from A to B to C, and C is waiting in a locker for the music to change. Yeah, it kind of starts like a pretty wildly branching set of possibilities for how you are going to cope with that. Again, this is something that he it's weird to. I'm going to say he, even though we need to understand auteurs don't make things alone. Like it's an entire team that like made the engine and stuff. Metal Gear Solid 4 was a bigger step toward stealth out in the open kind of deal. That's where some of this change ended up making place. The thing is here in 5, it commits to it. And it is the way that you play, as opposed to having each of the chapters play entirely differently based on the subject matter of what they put you through. Right.
Yes. Yeah. So let's talk about this basic loop.
Yes.
That you do. It's going to explain the mechanics through it. Most missions have you clearing an outpost or, killing or grabbing something from an outpost.
Yes.
So you can describe that loop and describe a lot of Snake's verb set in your toolbox.
Yeah.
Through this. So the beginning of any good mission begins with recon. You have special binoculars that if you see something and hover on it for a second, you can mark it. And you can radio for specific information about highlighted objects, which is useful in the beginning, but and a cool, change from previous Metal Gears, as opposed to that being like once you recognize a radar dish, a specific kind of radar dish, you'll recognize it.
Yeah.
You're not having a character call you to tell you about it kind of regardless. You opt in and you do it once and they trust the player to recognize that object.
Yeah. It doesn't play a beep and then take things away from you and say, Snake, look out. That's a yeah
exactly. And once you recognize somebody, you basically can see them through walls, which is one of the stealth basic tools. Once you mark somebody, so you are getting angles from a distance to try to mark people in a base usually.
And this is great because not every base has everything visible. A great deal of this game takes place outdoors, but there are small buildings, there are tents, so like spend as much time as you want marking people from the outside. You're going to do yourself some favors. That does not mean that when you get down there wasn't somebody who just kind of evaded you by virtue of being inside. You can still be surprised no matter what kind of recon you do. And I love that. I love just a thing that I really, really value in games is that balance between plan and the chaos of execution. Right.
Yes.
It's like, okay, here's the wild card that's thrown in. Deal with it.
Yeah. And this does better with both sides of that equation than any previous game. Like you could kind of plan, they always wanted you to get out the binoculars and check out guard routes and stuff in previous Metal Gears. The areas were not big enough and you did not have the right sight lines for it. I usually found the fidelity wasn't there to make that good and fun.
And also it can't be overstated. Just having the binoculars on a button, it's R1 or right bumper, depending on what controller you're using, no matter what you're holding at that point. So like there's no flipping through a menu. You can just always deploy this and get a sense.
Yeah. It took an amazingly long time for video games to figure that out. I'm thinking about like the knife in Resident Evil 4, like how all of a sudden in Resident Evil 4 you want to use the knife all the time.
Yeah.
If something you're going to use all the time, make it a button. Please. Little hardware corner thing. I had to stop playing this on the Steam Deck. I think the Steam Deck is actually really great. The ergonomics of holding down R1 are too much.
Okay.
You can tap it, but if you have to hold it down for a long time, like in this game, it's not very comfortable.
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Neat.
So you have one of these things I think is really pretty close to best in class. You have a little indicator that shows which direction people see you from.
Mm-hmm.
This is done through a combination, this little radial kind of lens flare thing that is done and has a sound cue associated with it.
Mm-hmm.
That is very clear whether somebody suspects you're there or knows you're there, and which direction it's coming from. Yeah. It's non-obtrusive. It's also non-ambiguous. Mm-hmm. Like, it's really easy to tell which direction something's from. There's every once in a while something vertically, like, somebody might be on a higher, z-axis than you think, but generally, like, this is really good information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like it is charting awareness. It's weird. It's weird to put this into words because it's pretty intuitive when you play it. It's charting awareness. So like when you say like, oh, this is where you're being seen from, it's like this is saying, oh, somebody could possibly see you if their eyes were like looking in the right direction based on what they're doing. If they're actually suspicious of you, their marker overhead will blink, and that means that they are actively searching for you, be it with a flashlight or like radioing and saying, hey, there's something over here, I'm gonna go take a look. Again, just the lots of just kind of like gradations on this, as opposed to just a modal, okay, now you're in alert mode, now you're in caution mode kind of deal.
Yep. You can run in this. You run really fast, which is also kind of new, which makes plays into that if you get caught thing. Yeah. Like, you can outrun everything in this game basically. So if you get caught, you can escape. You can walk, you can crouch walk to mostly sneak, and then crawl through cover. All of these things are faster than previous games. And you're doing this to get into advantageous positions in the order to find your objective, take out enemies, scope better, etc.
Yes.
From a distance, you have your guns. You have your default tranquilizer gun, which is really useful. You can also put them to sleep with hand-to-hand stuff. And you can put them to sleep with hand stuff. Yeah. And and then the nice thing again is Metal Gear games have always been a thing where, like, if you want to, you can go non-lethally. What this is going to do is give you a dog tag and a special little title at the end that makes you a good boy. They've integrated into the play, which is not some, play and story don't integrate very well in these games. They finally done it. You want to put people to sleep because enemies are resources.
Yeah.
This is from Peace Walker.
I want to get out in front of people saying like, oh, they finally done it. Yes. Peace Walker. Like you said, you eventually got around to it. Sorry.
Yeah. Nobody played Peace Walker. Like, I mean, I know some people played Peace Walker, but it's a PSP exclusive game that eventually got ported. But like, I imagine way more people played this than Peace Walker.
Yes. Yeah.
That is on loan from Peace Walker, the silly cartoon game where you fight dinosaurs. But like you do this thing called a Fulton, which is a real thing. Somebody read Wikipedia before this. It's an extraction system where you capture enemies, put them in jail, and torture them until they're convinced that you're right.
Well, I mean, there's an intermediate step. You knock them out, you put a harness on them, a gigantic balloon yanks them up into the sky, and hilariously, the other people, maybe even 15 feet away, only sometimes notice this, even though the guy screams, "Ah!"
Yeah, this is a joy and a triumph. It is such a good and fun core mechanic. This advances where you can start doing it for vehicles. You can do it with vehicles with people in it. Like a tank can spot you. You run behind the tank and then put a balloon on the tank or a parachute on the tank. So the tank gets taken with the people who just saw you.
There are so many missions where it's like, hey, take out this armor, and it's like, oh, you might want to bring missile launchers for this or grenades. I'm like, nope, I got my handy dandy balloon.
Yeah, that is, I love it. It plays. The tiny like gray lining on the silver cloud is that plays into an upgrade kind of grind economy thing for getting that upgrade that I think is a little bit annoying, but we'll talk about that when we talk about weapon development and base development stuff. Yeah. But this is a miracle. You always want guys, like even guys who are kind of shitty, you eventually get the ability to see how good they are at things with your binoculars. And you always, but grunts are good. And you can always dismiss them, so these are all resources.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you should never kill people, because if you don't want to Fulton them, they will wake up.
Yes.
And depending on how you put them to sleep, it'll take longer for them to wake up.
Or somebody could find them and wake them up, and then they can report on you, Yeah. But no, I play this I am Mr. Sandman, and I am giving them dreams.
Yeah. It's great. Yeah, everybody goes to the heavy side layer. Like every single person has joined the Jellicle Ball and is getting sent up to the heavy side layer. The outer heavy side layer. Yay. Ocelots, the musical.
Skimble Shaska, the ocelots.
Yeah. Skimble Shaska, the walking battle cat.
Oh man.
Yay.
Yeah, no, but I love disappearing an entire base and then like alerting the last guy.
Yeah,
he's like, wait, where oh no, I can't radio. Our dish is down. Fuck. Hey, everybody. No. Oh wait, nobody's here. Oh,
it's you and me. Really, I mean, it's so fun.
Yeah. You do have melee. You've got your CQC coming back. This is just wailing on your R2 when you're near somebody to punch them out. Incredibly satisfying judo throws. Like they're doing some burnout level, like screen shake and base magic to sell these things. Like nobody has ever hit the ground as hard as you do when Big Boss throws you.
Yeah.
Or you can grab them and interrogate them and stuff.
I really like how CQC, because in 3, one of the things they did was make this more complicated. I'm really happy it's just tap the button or tap the button in a direction.
Yep.
I didn't like, that.
They didn't
gameplay mode.
They didn't use the granular distinction for a lot of really worthwhile stuff.
Big no thanks.
Yeah.
So you can interrogate them. Depending on where they're at, they'll speak different languages. So you have to have an interpreter.
Mm-hmm.
This is another reason why you want to kidnap people and torture them into joining you. This is, you can either have them update your markers, so they'll tell you where your goal is, where blueprints are, where money is, or where other guards are.
Yeah.
Something I think is incredibly generous, and I've seen a lot of people complain about because they're like, "Oh, this trivializes the game." They want to play it like an old Metal Gear.
Well, you can turn it off.
Yeah, you can turn it off, but also like this is great.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. There's something called reflex mode where somebody sees you, you go into like an adrenaline slow motion mode where you can try to stop the person who saw you.
Mm-hmm.
This is always real fun when you pull it off. Yep. Like when you pull off a perfect shot from a distance, like taking into account your dart sinking in the air to hit somebody in their face below their helmet.
Mm-hmm.
Like nothing feels cooler than that.
Yeah.
It is a great feeling.
I like this because it maximizes drama in the play. It is assisting me in doing something very cool and unlikely.
Yeah. I'm supposed to be big, you're not Big Boss, but I'm supposed to be a Big Boss. I'm supposed to be this legendary soldier. It would make sense for you to have superhuman abilities.
Mm-hmm.
All you do is fight shitty supervillains.
Yep.
Like, why can't you have this little tiny minor superpower?
Oops, dart in your neck.
Yeah, dart in your neck. I've never felt good about this being an everyman versus psychics and people who are always on fire. Like,
no,
that's not fair. It's like the Mortal Kombat tournament. Do you see that one guy brought a gun? They're monsters. It's a horrible tournament. I really, really like this as a mechanical representation of superhuman reflexes.
Mm-hmm.
I think it works really well.
Yeah, agreed. I never turned it off. And one of my greatest reliefs was learning that when this game starts egregiously repeating missions in its fucking shambles of a second chapter, you don't actually have to do the missions where they turn this off.
Nice.
So, yeah,
that's good. Also putting this on Front Street just before somebody yells at me. I didn't do the second chapter of this where you repeat missions.
Mm-hmm.
I played for 40 hours, which was fine.
They didn't finish the game. Why should you?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. I did, and I made notes about it. We'll talk about it when we get there next week.
You get a credits at the point I got to.
Yes.
So I feel like that's considered. This isn't Bonfireside Chat. I don't have to 100% stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As I alluded to before, the alert system isn't fully modal. Yes, people will be coming after you, but there are very varying kinds of responses they can pull depending on what they've seen or heard. Kind of a way that this is, distinguished is like, sometimes they will hear the gunshot, but not know where it came from. And then, do like a general search, like everybody be a little bit more careful, if you really fuck up at one outpost on the way to another, they'll radio over and there's going to be like a general heightening kind of deal. I like this.
I like it a lot. And it really benefits from the game that's designed around it in comparison to the games in the series. So previous Metal Gear has always had 3 levels of alert. It's always had green, yellow, and red. You know, red meaning you may as well restart or you just have to go hide in a locker. But yellow also meant that because the environments you were in were small enough. Yes. You know, so if enemies were in search mode, it's not like you could just go about your mission in Metal Gear 2. Here, the area is so big, you can just go to the other side of the base.
Yep.
Like, or you can just leave the base for a little bit and approach from a different angle. And by the time you get there, you know, or smoke your Phantom cigar and listen to Desert Rain by Sting and have time go by until the alert's done.
I'm very happy that you also clocked that as sounding very similar.
Yeah, you do the sample from Desert Rain.
I think you mean Desert Rose. Sorry.
Desert Rose. Thank you.
Yay.
Yeah. It does Desert Rose. But you can, the yellow alert means something. You know, there are different degrees, there are shades of yellow, but it also is meaningfully different, which has not been true before.
Yeah.
Like, and it should have been. Like, to include it, it should have been meaningfully different. It wasn't. They got there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just there's generally always something else you can do. Oh shit, I fucked up interrogating this guy and had to knock him out. I slept him, and everybody is alerted. Okay, let me work my way around and try and isolate somebody else to interrogate them. Okay,
yeah.
There's
or he's a mission critical guy. Let me get him out of. I have to get him far enough away from everybody so I can kick him and interrogate him when he wakes up. Or the game does a really good job of conforming to you doing missions in a different way, which has never been true in the series. Like, if the game says, here's the interpreter, he's going to go meet with the captain, follow him. If you kill him instead, the mission doesn't end.
Right.
There's immersive sim DNA in this that supports Kojima's genuine talent for little gameplay details.
Yes.
And stuff that has not been the case before. He's always had those little details, but they've been Easter eggs. Yeah. Oh, I can knock over this ice cup. I can kill this plasma screen TV. Like, they're little fun little bits. Now the game around them actually supports them.
Yes.
Immersive sim is the secret spice that actually like improves tons of games when you stick a little bit in, like between this and DOS 2, like that as being a thing you splash into your games to multi-class is fucking huge.
The masterclass example that is pretty much an uncontested win is Hitman, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. It just, put a little immersive sim in your game. It's good shit.
Yeah, it's like fish sauce. It will generally lift anything you put it in,
and it doesn't taste like fish. You think that's going to be it's just going to taste fishy? It doesn't.
Yep.
So you are knocking out these bases is incredibly fun. You have a lot of freedom in this, which we kind of talked about. This is aided by your arsenal of kind of weapons and tools that you have. To me, this is double-edged. I really like a lot of these tools that you get, and we'll talk about them as they show up. Because they're individually, they're very, very cool. There is a grind element to unlocking them.
Yes.
That I do not like. And there is a military fetishism of having 17 identical machine guns that are all lovingly rendered and stuff that I think is both eye-rolly and then also undercuts any kind of anti-war message. Yeah. It's that Gundam meme, like, oh, wow, cool robots thing, except played straight. And it's very hard to get excited about a shotgun with 0.2 different spread, but 0.3 different range.
Oh, but has a different kind of stock.
Yeah. I do not care. And the game wants me to care. I really wish this was streamlined.
There are better, more meaningful ways that they could engage with like a genuine tension that can work, which is a disgust with the war, but also a fascination with it. Giving you pages and pages of identical shotguns to go through. That ain't it.
It's interesting because it's I think that the way that dissonance is squared is a lot easier with like future guns. Like in a Gundam sense, that Gundam meme, thinking, oh, cool robots, like that doesn't exist. That is cool. That's a Gundam. That's not something that exists in the world. These are not direct lifts from guns. Like they're not using the same names. Yeah. But they are direct lifts in terms of they're all based on real guns. Like this comes from a genuine place of affection.
And so instead of the P90, it's the RCP90. Right?
Yes. Yeah. Like somebody has a real sense of absolute like gun licking, fetishism, like that sniper from Venture Brothers. Somebody likes this stuff, and I think that's dorky, and I also think it undercuts the message.
Yeah. But your little spy gadgets are great. I will always clap like a seal whenever I see one of those blow up decoys, either when I use them or the enemy uses them.
I love it when the enemy starts using them. That's very funny.
It looks exactly like autopilot from Airplane.
It's real good. It's a Johnny Cab. I really like these. Okay. You can, in addition to the tools that you get, and we'll talk about those in more detail as you go, you can modify the enemy's base for them. So you hinder their abilities. This is stuff that I remember being part of Metal Gear 3, but feeling more Easter eggy.
It was useful. Like at 2 points, you pass by like an armory, and you could mess them up for like whatever the next big thing was,
which was cool as like a trivia, like a did you know thing. Yeah. Here, all those little did you know details are now useful to the gameplay. So like blowing up, you can't blow something up without that making a big loud explosion. So you're making a meaningful trade whenever you do this. I want the enemy not to be able to call in reinforcements, or I want to be able to land my helicopter right here because when I leave, it's going to be hot, but I'm going to alert the base in doing it. That's a cool trade-off. Yeah. And it's only cool because alerting the base isn't a death sentence.
Right.
And it's not a punishment. It's not a wait sentence.
And you're given the tools because you don't have to be right by there. I can set C4. I can get a little bit closer to where I want things to, where I want to actually do something. I detonate that creates the diversion, moves people away from what I'm actually trying to do. I've gained 2 things: an opportunity to get my objective, and also they can't call him back up anymore.
A base scale diversion is something that video games don't do very often. Hitman, you can do stuff like that from time to time, but it's only really best in class, like stealth games that allow you to do diversions that aren't just throwing a bottle, behind a guard. A wide scale, wide area diversion is really cool.
Yes.
Very, very cool.
As you do this stuff, enemy forces will adapt to your tactics over time. I think that this is something that I've read about. It's impossible for me to imagine somebody who doesn't play this game exactly like I do. So when I say this, you probably say like, oh yeah, eventually it started showing up with metal helmets, and then eventually it started showing up at like full umpires, like hockey outfits, like full pads and stuff, that just no skin can be exposed because Mr. Sandman's out there giving us dreams.
It is so funny that it takes that for them to realize that their guys should have helmets. Man, a lot of our guys are getting shot in the head. Do you want to start deploying helmets? Not yet. Let's wait a few more weeks and then we'll give them a helmet. And I understand that real life American soldiers tend to have to buy their own body armor and stuff, but these aren't American soldiers. They probably have helmets. It's basic there. They'll adapt to a lot of things. Helmets are the big one for me as well. If you do a lot of night infiltrations, they'll get flashlights. Gas masks are one. Gas masks are kind of useful gas is kind of far up on the tech tree. If you're not doing a lot of side ops. So didn't show up for me this time, but it showed up for me before, and it is a pain.
Well, the one thing I remembered, not just the flashlights, but like standalone lights with their own little generators will start showing up as well. Like floodlights to light up an entire area. That proc for me too.
You can, we'll talk about this later. There's a whole meta system of base management and sending off your little robots off to go do stuff where you can undercut this stuff too. It's a resource tax to do so. It's generally not odious, but it just kind of keeps that management layer kind of running. That management layer is neat, but it's not compelling on its own.
Right.
At least to me, it's not like it's not like ActRaiser.
Right. The other thing that will influence your kind of infiltrations is ambient conditions. So there's a day and night cycle, like we alluded to. Generally, by night, there are fewer guards, and it is more difficult for them to see you. However, it is difficult for you to see as well. It's dark for everybody, and your night vision goggles have batteries, which you gotta conserve. Daytime, more guards, but everybody can see, but just better visibility. And there are 2 maps in this. One is in Afghanistan and the other is in Southern Africa. And there's weather conditions. In Afghanistan, there are sandstorms, which create these amazing moments where like you're walking and you're like 5 feet from a guy and he can't see you because
they're real blessings. You just like, I'm going to get as wherever I want to get inside this base, and no one will ever see me. And then, because, it's a gameplay thing, Africa is harder, than Afghanistan in this. There are just rainstorms, which will block sound but not sight.
Yes.
There. But sandstorms are always player benefit. You have things marked.
Unless I am trying to extract, and then I have to wait for it to be over with.
Yeah.
And that's,
you leave each mission, you deploy your helicopter from your base, and you schedule a pickup. There are little designated areas that are pretty arbitrary. Whether you can be there. This is a patina over the entire game. I don't want to spend the whole game talking about it, but I think it is a problem. Every single time you do this, you wait for a helicopter to show up and then you ride in the helicopter. It's not a cutscene.
Yep.
It's actual gameplay, even though there's nothing you can really do meaningfully during it. You can't even really listen to your tapes during it because you're getting a mission briefing. This sucks. Yeah. It's about 90 seconds. Most cases it can vary. It's every mission. There's a little timeout, watch a little cutscene, 90-second thing. Every mission, the entire game.
Yep.
No excuse for this. I don't think this should have made it past anything. I don't think it helps with the rhythm. The rhythm's already there because you can't deploy right to the base. You always have to get to the base. Yeah. I think this sucks. Yeah. And I don't want to talk about it every time it comes up because it comes up every single time. It sucks. I hate it.
Yeah. There is drama in waiting for especially if things are hot. Yeah. Like if I'm not an alert when I summon the helicopter.
Going out. The way back.
Yeah. No, I mean, like on both of them, you've got to wait when it picks you up too. Like you've got to hop in, and then you have to wait for it to like understand that you're going to be staying in there, and then it starts pulling away. There's waiting on the other side of it too. That is not additive to me. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. If you are extracting, it can be a hot zone. That can be cool. Yes. And you might have just done something very stressful and the rest is welcome. Before the action, the rest is not welcome.
Right. Because I've just been checking to see what upgrades are available and stuff.
Yeah. I've just been going and punching my soldiers and having them thank me for it because somebody's getting their rocks off in this game.
Yep.
Like there's a lot of weird.
I'm going to figure out who.
Yeah. I'm the dick detective and it's time to see which balls are empty on Mother Base. What are you even feeding this thing, sir? Bonds. So I really hate this, but you deploy from a helicopter. The helicopter is usually a blessing because you can have it come and do stuff. One of my all-time favorite gameplay memories, I did this playthrough, but it was a revelation the first time I did it, was calling in an airstrike as a distraction.
Yep.
It's expensive. It costs these resources. Not something you want to do willy-nilly, and you can lose helicopters. But it's really, really useful to be like, I'm fucked. I have an army. Let's act like that.
Yeah.
Like, I can deploy people to this shit too. I really like how helicopters figure into the gameplay part of this, not the mission, menu part of it, essentially.
Yeah. The rhythm, the time tax of starting and stopping a mission. Yeah.
While we're talking about the W's this game post, let's talk about the buddy system.
Let's do. This is great. You're no longer you can be, but you are not strictly a solo infiltrator.
You have an array of friends with varying degrees of usefulness. To be fair, these are not all perfectly balanced, but they all do have a use that you can have with you. You start out with a horse. You eventually can find a dog, then a woman, then a robot. It goes mouse, cat, dog, gangster octopus. I think it's very, there's lots of ways that this game is sexist, and that Quiet is very specifically sexist. Laying out your array of buddies as a line of horse, dog, woman, robot.
Yeah.
Boy, that's damn.
That's why I did it. Yeah, I'm just kind of like, oh yeah, you've got buddies. Buddies. Yeah. Like that dog or that horse or that naked lady
or the nude woman you like to hang out with.
Yeah.
We'll talk about these as you get them. But the use cases for these are very impressive. It's great. It just adds to your toolbox, and like I love having more tools. I play real quiet. Generally, like I love Quiet as a character, as a gameplay function. Hate her as a narrative function, love her as a gameplay function. And when she comes up and you get adapted to her, it changes the rhythm of what you're doing in a way that I find really compelling.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It does feel like you're doing one person teamwork
Yes.
weirdly, like just, okay, I'm going to be closing the distance to get out there. She can move faster than me because of her parasite powers or whatever. I will set her to scout ahead of me so that when I get there, stuff is already pre-marked. Great.
Well, it does. It's not only is it like just cool in this way, it also automates some things that you would do before. So both her and D-Dog, you start off the game having to slowly infiltrate, and slowly scout and do recon. Mm-hmm. Eventually, a lot of your recon stuff gets outsourced by a buddy.
Yes.
At exactly around the time you might be sick of doing that and wanting to get into more complicated action sooner. Like, it's a really elegant curve.
Yeah.
The way that these scout buddies are introduced.
Agreed.
Again, just really, posting its W's, like really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
Really done.
Yeah, I found the fact that I found uses for all of them, not as like I did lean on Quiet quite a bit because she is incredibly effective once you get her upgraded. But the fact that each of them has their uses, plausibly could make or break a mission for you is good design. None of them feels entirely superfluous.
Agreed.
Yeah. We've kind of talked about it, but there is kind of a management thing around this that, again, returns from Peace Walker. You have Mother Base. It is this oil rig out in the middle of the Seychelles, the islands there in the Indian Ocean. And you are staffing it with the people you kidnap.
And brainwash.
Oh, yeah, and brainwash.
Yeah. We can persuade them, boss.
Ocelot's about...
Yeah, Ocelot is putting people in prison and torturing them until they decide they're ideologically on your side. I'm not trying to cancel this Tumblr style for you not playing a good guy. I understand that this is a villain origin story.
Well,
it's just very funny that you get heroism points for non-lethally taking people back and then torturing them into your ideology.
No, I wasn't making my starting to talk sounds because I wanted to defend it. I wish they leaned into it more. I wish that it was more clearly a villain origin story. He if we're blaming this on Kojima, he is way too in love with Big Boss being actually a good person, like he's good actually, like I would rather this more clearly lead up to Big Boss being a bastard who has lost all sense, like you go a long way toward building your little army of freaks here. You basically establish the first version of Foxhound at the end of this. Yeah. So I wish they would have actually committed to that because it would have claimed a little bit less.
It ends up being just a little bit queasy in a way that doesn't feel as intentional.
Yeah.
Like there are people who will see like, oh, the fact that you're getting heroism points for torturing people into your ideology, that's the kind of irony that is, our genius godsend writer come to fix video games can do. But I don't buy it. It is a cheap irony if it is an intentional irony.
Can I say something that might make other people's eyes roll, but I want to get a gut check on it?
Yeah.
Did you get like a kind of a weird feeling about playing a white man rolling around in Africa, stealing a bunch of dudes,
stealing a bunch of black dudes, and then forcing them into your ideology?
Yeah.
When they're and then the ones that speak a certain African language kill all your men through a poisonous language. So then you have to go and quarantine them all, so they all die together. It's not great. It's not super good.
Call me too sensitive or whatever. And like, not everybody is like, they do the like, hey, we fixed Resident Evil 5. All kinds of skin colors are present there. Call me oversensitive for that if you want, but I would be dishonest if I didn't say that there's some 2022 eyes on that. If again, so much about this when I say it's embarrassing, if somebody walked in, I would have trouble explaining, no, this is good and smart actually.
Why you stole it's not smart, but why you stole an entire base of black people to torture them? It's not great.
Yeah. Okay.
It's one of the big Kojima loves to have a theme that rhymes with the word bean in his games. This one though he doesn't. It's race and revenge, but it is not a very racially sensitive game, at least through a lens. And I say an American lens, which makes me feel like Anglo-centric. Because us being an American podcast, but like. He's all about America. He's talking about America. Yeah. It's not me overstepping my bounds or colonizing to take this through an American lens. Like the Atlantic slave trade should have been on this dude's mind.
Yeah.
At one point, you would think.
Yeah. It's not something where I'm going to need to say like, oh yeah, we're going to call it off here. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't the only person who felt that way. Yeah.
I felt that there are so many worse things.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's hard for me to think about the crimes against Black people in this because of the crimes against women.
Yeah.
Like it's so gross. He's a disgusting man. He hates women. And he's not responsible enough to play with the toys he likes.
Nope.
He's a kid with matches.
There's a kind of juvenilia that spirals into a greater scale. And something I will say, at least to my recollection, Death Stranding is better about that. Like, it is not the eye candy. So
you don't it's not just butts and boobs and then
it's
kidnapping
not
Black people.
It's not male gaze. It's not male gaze .mov kind of deal. I
hate giving him credit for getting to the minimum.
I know,
to getting to something non-subtractive.
You don't have to, but it is also, it's indicative of it's a line. It's there's enough. It is a
change in him, but by no means do I have to hand it to him. He made
quiet.
No?
Oh yeah,
and he introduced the female skulls unit in the most embarrassing cutscene that I've seen in a video game.
I forgot how bad it was,
dude. I remembered it from the first time I played it, and this was early in the show. I played this when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
It was before Trump, so it was before ultra woke annoying Gary Butterfield. We were still political, but we were not nearly as political.
Mm-hmm.
It was not 2022 eyes, which are significantly more woke. I was still just this fucking sucks.
That
cutscene is so funny. God, just introducing people literally just their boobs and their butts.
Mm-hmm.
What a monster, man. Kojima ein sex monster?
It's not great. I would have difficulty explaining it to somebody who walked in.
Imagine playing this and having somebody from Gen Pop walking in watching you play this.
Yeah.
They just think you were masturbating. They would just think this is literally just a pervert game that you were perving out on. And then you'd have to sit down and explain, no, it's about capital R race, capital R revenge, and the tyranny of language. And they would just roll their eyes at you. It's exactly that tweet say what you will about Ass Girls 2 Pussy Prison, but it has some deep Foucauldian themes. It's that,
okay. Just, you're going to say this has, the boob jiggle in this is bad. Well, let me say something about your words and your deeds and the level of shame that you may feel about them.
Did you know that he said that on my birthday? I found that out when I was doing research about that. What a gift. The day I turned 33 is when he almost 10 years ago, the day I turned 33 is when he did that. And it's the most embarrassing thing a guy I hate has ever said. I love it so much, dude. It is such a gift.
Oh man, re-railing us a little bit. The fact that this has a management system that I'm not losing my mind on kind of tells you a little bit where it's at. You're assigning folks to different departments, and the number of departments that you get expands as new struts become available. You're investing resources to either get resources faster or unlock new things, like specifically R&D is here, or you get intel, putting a bunch of people on the intel department will do a lot of pre-scouting ahead of you, so stuff will be marked even before your buddy gets there, right?
Useful, but the interface I think is clunky. The one time where you're forced to engage with this in the quarantine mission is annoying. So I just auto assign. Can't imagine min-maxing this.
You can there were times where it was boy, I really want that upgrade, or it would be really cool if I had this particular kind of utility grenade or whatever, and I was all right, I am taking as many people off of other things as I can, putting into R&D, starting the research project, letting it sit because all of this proceeds in real time for some reason, and then going back and auto assigning once it's done.
If I were playing this more completionist, I would do that. As somebody who, I set out knowing I wasn't going to finish this, I was more I'll get there when I get there.
Yeah. And
for me, there was a fun, I wanted to play with all the toys. There was also a fun in I need to do this blow. I can't Fulton tanks away. I have to blow up a bunch of tanks and all I have is grenades. So I either have to find stuff on site or, figure out a way to do this with being under equipped.
Yeah.
Which is a thing I like to do in video games. There is a asynchronous multiplayer system in this game. where you create a forward operating base, or FOB. This guy loves his acronyms. That you other players can invade, and you can invade theirs. There's a little mandatory part where you have to do this. I don't like it either. I don't have any interest in that. And everybody, all of them that were available to me, were all people, like, it's the same problem with PvP and multiplayer stuff online. Anyway, I'm dipping into this to play it for 40 hours. They've been dedicating their life to it. So they are way, way, way outclassing me. It also involves infiltrating the mother base, which somewhere along the line, Kojima thought that an oil rig was a really interesting environment. These like hexagons joined by really long straight bridges with unpredictable stairways. It's a really shittily designed space.
It's not great to get around.
Everything looks the same. It's not, there's no intuition as to where, there's no rhyme or reason as to where staircases are.
Right.
It would be a nightmare to work on this thing. Like,
I mean, in general, not just because this guy's running around flipping you all day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, not just because like a guy comes and punches you in the throat and you have to thank him.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because you've been brainwashed into jail.
Yep.
Like, of course you're going to thank him because Ocelot tortured you a bunch.
Have you seen that guy?
Yeah. This is called torture, boss. It's very
I'm
funny.
a cowboy for some reason now.
They gave him like the little mini man who pretended to meow is now like a rootin' tootin' cowboy.
Yeah,
for some reason.
Something happened in those in
the Troy Bakering
20 years
of him.
Yeah.
It's called Wormwood, boss. Like, just turning into the fucking life at the outpost is amazing.
They changed his face too. He doesn't look nearly as like grizzled as he needs to be. He looks like a completely different person. He doesn't have the sharp cheekbones that Ocelot has.
No. Yeah. He's just a guy. He's just a cow. You have a cowboy and you have a wuss. And you just go back to base and deal with your cowboy or wuss, and sometimes they fight.
Yeah,
this game is really refreshing when you stop caring who anybody is.
Right. Yeah, it's like you're the silent pillar in this love triangle between the cowboy and the wuss and you.
Yeah, and the nerd that everyone tortures, the piss nerd who loves to pee himself. Like we got a piss nerd and a
I can't wait to talk about Huey.
Fucking hate Huey.
I think you're supposed to.
I know you're definitely supposed to. I'm just done with the Otacon class of self-urinators. Like,
gotcha.
I don't. And that wasn't because of this. That was because of Metal Gear Solid 2. That killed any of my Otacon tolerance.
Yeah.
Like, I fucked my stepmom Snake and I feel real weird about it.
Yeah, fucked up, man.
Hey buddy. That is weird. This is neither the time nor the place, nor am I the person. Nor like there's so many things wrong with this confession.
Yeah. Your sister's drowning, right?
Yeah, you can wrap it up as well. There's nukes heading towards New York. The president's going to get him. Like, just would you please stop talking about step incest? It's my favorite Pornhub tag, but I don't need you to indulge me right now, my man.
Jesus.
I hate the step incest thing.
It's off-putting.
It's everywhere though. For a while, like 5 years ago, everyone was spitting on each other, and now everyone's related.
Yeah, no, both happen at the same time. I'm convinced that market moves just based on like just a handful of whales that are buying.
The stepdad spits on his stepdaughter and then fucks her. Jesus Christ!
I'd rather he didn't.
Yeah, show me a pussy. God damn. Don't do this.
Look at Dennis Leary over here. I just want flavored coffee.
Look at this basic bitch who just wants to see porn. Doesn't want to have a horrible Southern Gothic attached to it.
Man. So you've got your main missions, and those are confined to particular areas. There's a mission area. You also have side ops, which lead more into the open world kind of side of this. You don't have to deploy a different sortie for all of these. This is a codified way to like do stuff that's out in the world. You can, while you're clearing a base, you maybe find a blueprint and you can pick it up. Or you can just, while you're looking for stuff to do, see, there's that blueprint, and it will highlight it and make it its own mini mission for you.
There's a gray lining to the silver cloud. Generally, I really like these, and I like that you can do them without going back to the helicopter. So if you want to, you can clear a bunch of side missions in Afghanistan. The bases are so far apart, and calling a helicopter takes so long, and even riding your horse across the landscape takes so long that it's not efficient in a way that feels like it has to be intentional. They don't want you just to sit down and clear all your side missions. I would do them if they did, because they're fun and easy.
Yes.
Instead, though, you have a waiting tax of either trudging across the map or calling in a helicopter to pick you up and drop you off.
Yeah.
Somewhere. I really wish that this was different.
Unless you can find any of the 3 cars that are in the Middle East.
Yeah, or the fast travel system, which almost never shows up.
Right.
You can ship yourself like in a little box, and this is not like, this game just needs a map fast travel system. I should just be able to open the map and click on a spot and appear there. Yep. I understand it's going for verisimilitude, but it's not worth it.
Yeah.
So a bummer to me. Generally, I did a few of these, but I basically stopped. It's also frustrating to me because there are ones that are marked important that are mandatory. I don't understand the semiotics of making those important side missions that you have to do versus just making them main missions.
Yeah, if nothing unlocks unless I do that thing, then it is not side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That to me speaks to the creator feeling that it's very important that you see all of his vision.
Yeah.
So, but that's maybe being biased.
Aesthetics. This game looks good. I'm still impressed playing this in 2022, even though it came out 7 years ago. It's wild to think that it came out 7 years ago. Yeah. It operates at scale well. Like there's a way that this could not work if they decided to design it visually with a different level of fidelity, or if they tried to do too much with clutter, stuff like this. It is well put together, for you to see forever and get a good sense of situational awareness.
Yes. Yeah. The score music in this doesn't do a whole lot for me. It's okay. But I do like the licensed music, which is all 80s. This takes place in 1984. Whoa. So they use 80s bops for things, and they allow you to customize it. It's really hidden, like 4 menus deep.
Yep. It's an upgrade. It's an upgrade you have to get to make your chopper play music. What's your chopper song?
Kids in America.
Ooh, yeah. That's a good one.
I just it made sense to me with the colonialism. We're going to Africa and doing horrible things. We're the kids in America.
Man Eater. I just love that bass coming up. It's like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, no, Man Eater's great. I really wish the mission just started when the music started up.
Yeah,
like it would do so much to get you pumped. It'd be so fun, as opposed to the credits and then just like, Snake, your mission is to do this. We wanted to make a hard hitting hot sauce that wasn't for your city slickers. Boss, this is a cowboy bean.
Boss, they couldn't make blazing saddles today.
Yeah, but the being able to customize your helicopter, it's a meaningful collectible too, because you can do that. You don't just go to a menu and listen to Maneater. You actually get to use it, which I like. Yeah. The cinematics in this are fewer and further between than other Metal Gear games. The ones that are there are long. Like don't get it twisted, but you get more stretches of uninterrupted play and longer stretches. And instead of Kodak conversations,
computer designed only for killing.
Instead of Kodak coming in and telling you about, boss, that's a Alaskan rat, you get these things through cassette tapes. The idea here is that you do this while, like, I can understand the game design behind it, even though I don't think it works. I think that is why you have these long stretches between missions. You're supposed to just be like, I'm going to do some side missions, roam the countryside, listen to some tapes. Anytime you actually get an important radio thing, it cuts over your tape, making you have to like start it over or try to listen to both at the same time, which is difficult. They're also not paced for this. No. They are too short or too long to make this fun or interesting. Which to me really supported my, like, I don't actually care about what's in these because I don't care about the lore. So I'm going to check out. I have no, people have their, like, some people like different lore. I just didn't want to know about what happened to Paz after Peace Walker. I don't care. Even other than what they showed us. Like, I don't,
Oof. Even as somebody who likes the lore in this, you do get some bangers that are good for characterization and have Easter eggs that help you put together the corkboard and yarn kind of stuff. I mean, everything that was in the codex is offloaded, which means that some of the tapes are just in 1968. The Cypriot English alliance broke down, and it's like, yeah, okay, cool, thanks. All right, skip. You can always tell what those tapes are going to be, though. And I just I tap them. When you're in the menu, you can just see it line by line. So I speed read it and say like, okay, there's nothing worthwhile there. I'm going to go.
Yeah,
it is not a thing to its credit saying, oh, this thing is bad. Doesn't add anything, but it is easy to recognize it from a distance.
Yeah, you can skip it if you want, which is the last refuge of a coward defending video game stuff. I know you're not doing it, but you can skip it and it's not as bad as it could be. Is the weakest,
Every time a character talks, it's an opportunity to do something cool. And if you don't, then it's worth thinking about.
Plot. Every time a character talks, every word in your game, you could advance character or plot or setting or mood. You can do something, you can accomplish something.
Yes.
You don't have to just rephrase Wikipedias that you write about historical events.
Yeah.
Some of these are alternate history. A bunch of them are just history. Though, like, same thing, there's an element of the Koj that is always like, I found out about this cool military history thing and now you gotta.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're cool, but a lot of times they're boring as shit. And it does presuppose you are as interested in military history as he is. Which I am not. Like, I like military history stuff just fine. I can listen to a podcast about it that's edited and hits the high points and stuff. Like, that's good to me. I don't want a dry military history of the Cypriot English alliance.
It's the meme with the girl shouting into the guy's ear at that music festival.
Yeah.
So one thing that is improved here, so like with these cinematics, when I think of Metal Gear cinematics, I think of long monologues over stock footage. That is not present here. This is generally more stylishly put together. A thing that I enjoy and I think works out pretty well is that they do scenes as oneers. They're doing the Birdman, Alejandro Inarritu kind of deal where the camera will move around as opposed to cutting between things. I think this is good and enforces a certain kind of, things are happening in the world, kind of feeling to this. Your mileage may vary, but I think that is something that is it is a limitation that works.
It's definitely better than stock footage.
Yes.
I don't find the direction, like the actual camera work of this game particularly like enticing. Like the shots being composed, and some of that is just me in video games. Like it's always going to be a couple real dolls talking to each other. Like it can't arrest me the same way like an amazing shot can in like Better Call Saul or something.
Right. Yeah.
But it is an improvement. The writing, to the degree, like I think that is the best written Metal Gear game other than 2, largely because there's less of it.
Yep.
Which is a damning thing, but it's true. Like there is a cool idea about language. It happens way later than I remember.
Same. Like, I thought that
not a part of the game,
talker,
really.
Yeah.
Like last 5 missions is where all of the sizzle in this, or all of the steak is.
Yeah.
Everything up until that point is almost bereft of writing. Like you get the beginning of the game. You have all these things you can do about the history and lore of the world and your characters. And then you get to the turning point where it has a concept.
Yeah.
That lack of writing is good. Like it doesn't mean, and lack of writing is not lack of talking. You're still going to have characters telling you these things at length. Like this guy is actually called the Butcher and he's blah, blah, bloop. You're going to get that shit. It's not very good, but there's not very much of it. The story of this game doesn't happen for a long time.
Yeah. I'm happy just being an independent army doing independent army stuff. Like that's fine.
For money. Like I don't even need the ideological reasons for this kind of stuff. What's interesting about this is every mission has credit sequence, which is, you can, Kojima wanted to do this because he was upset because of how Konami was treating him, etc. It's really indulgent, I think. But you can, and this is going to sound like a bit, but it's 100% true. I knew a mission would be bad when Kojima was writing it because it was going to be talky and the skulls were going to show up.
Yeah.
And I hate the skulls. I hate the skull unit. We'll talk about that when they get there, but I don't think any of those fights are good and fun. And I think that they're that's where you get the titty introduction. The fact that other people wrote these other missions where the story gets out of the way and just lets you play and be an independent army doing stuff for money, those are all fucking wonderful and great. And that was the dividing line. Like we talked about our true theory, it's hard to know who's responsible for what in a game. Not in this game.
Yeah.
The Kojima levels, 1, talky, 2, skulls show up, 3, they're less nonlinear. Almost all of them have a big valley or a big hallway you go down so he can funnel you into gameplay situations. Like the open world part of this where you can tackle things from any angle, you can, you don't know exactly how much collaboration there was. Purely in credits, though, those levels aren't designed by Kojima. That very cool thing that we spent the whole first half of this praising wasn't him. It was his collaborators. And next time, if you're listening to this, next time you play it, keep an eye out. There's always a big long hallway in every Kojima level. Either a valley or a hall, some kind of thing they funnel you down.
I didn't notice it because when I saw the credits come up, my eye just kind of rolled. And also like it's happening. I'll be honest. The pre-credits show up when you're riding the chopper to the area. I'm on my phone. I'm checking to make sure that checking Twitter, making sure nothing's wrong with an episode I just uploaded. Right.
Yep. Yeah. And whomst would blame you? Yeah. I just for me to focus on work, I've had to put my phone in another room. I've gotten bad at swapping back and forth.
Yes. Yeah.
So I charge my phone, and that is the useful thing that I trick my brain in. Like, oh, it's got a charge, and then I trick my brain into putting it in another room and leaving it alone.
Yeah.
So it's pretty amazing though. Like it sounds like I'm doing a bit, but it's evidenced. And I don't know anything about the other writers. I don't think the other writing is particularly good. I do think the other level design is much better.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's there is very repetitious and very in love with its own lore. There are a lot of things in this that are reveals that bank on a lot of affection for the series in a way that reminds me of, the closest thing that I like to Kojima shit is comics. And the comic stuff I typically don't like the stuff that indulges in that worse stuff. Yeah. So, but like Wolverine origin stuff, oh, this character from his past is actually this person. Don't you want to see them when they're a kid? And my answer is no. Like, I just want to I don't need to know the entire story of this character. I don't think it's that interesting. Knowing that Liquid Snake was a tiny little child warlord who, ran a team of other child soldiers isn't that interesting to me. Like, I'm fine with Liquid Snake in Metal Gear 1. I don't care that much about his origin. The reveal doesn't do anything to me.
Yeah. And I'm a mark for it. When I was playing this, I was like, oh, where's David going to be? Where's David?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, then that's the, if you're in the pocket for it, you're in the pocket for it. A lot of the writing is that.
Yes. Yeah. Fan service. You could call it most succinctly, I think.
If you say fan service in this game, I'm thinking about Quiet.
Yeah.
Fan service is too, we needed a different term.
We do.
For when it's fan service, that's just like, here's a butt.
Yeah. Like when I see that, I think of pandering, but it's all different squares and rhombuses.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. The hugest objective mark about this, and I think the thing that everybody can agree on, is that this game is not finished. And very clearly so. Chapter 1 tells you a complete story. Credits roll, and it's plausible that credits roll, and then the game comes back and says Chapter 2. And you think, okay, cool, what's this going to be? And it is a very loosely held together string of mostly missions you've done before with different modifiers, and occasionally cutscenes or story missions with very unclear unlock criteria. That just feels like, okay, now just go Metal Gear Solid 5, and maybe possibly we will tell you why you're doing that.
There's also meant to be a Chapter 3 as well.
Yes.
That there's a title card for, but that's the only thing that exists from it. So, to my mind, I played again 40 hours for me to get through Chapter 1. I was really satisfied, and I wasn't wanting more. And the more I could have done would have been through side missions and shit.
Yeah.
Like, I was fine with that. I think this had 3 chapters and the game was 120 hours. It'd be a fucking nightmare.
Yeah. Not too much.
Yeah. So I don't think this actually needed more.
Nope.
It's kind of a blessing to me that Chapter 2, I wish it just didn't have Chapter 2.
Yeah. I wish they would have just said like, hey, that's the end. And like, maybe there are some challenge missions you can do, but like, don't don't, through all of the semiotics of how fiction works, tell me that this is chapter 2. Just by looking at that, they think, okay, I'm halfway done if this is a 2-chapter game.
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with the chapter. And that's what they did in previous games. They would do those kind of challenge missions and stuff through just VR.
Yeah.
Or things like that, or alternate modes. Here, they make it pretend to be part of the plot.
Mm-hmm.
The development for this game is very troubled. It's a big, long story in its own. And information is a little bit hard to come by because Konami and Kojima are at war.
Yeah.
And the ultimate Gary Butterfield let them fight. As somebody who, there are lots of things I don't like on either side.
Mm-hmm. Saying a bad thing about one doesn't mean you support the other.
Yeah. No, I mean, Konami, tons of problems. Kojima, tons of problems. It sounds like there's a personal feud between one of the higher ups there and Kojima. From my research, there's an element that's very personal, and they're just not talking about it.
Yeah.
And I could see both of them being really mad at each other for good reasons. This game that was $80 million over budget, that they're we're not going to make our money back on this. We got to stop throwing good money after bad.
Yeah.
I get it.
Maybe don't write him a blank check.
Yeah. Maybe that was your mistake. And maybe if he said, I will only do this with a blank check that, and you accepting it and him asking him for it are both moral failings to me.
Mm-hmm.
One of them, Konami is worse in terms of preservation, them taking PT off the servers and stuff. That all sucks and is spiteful and is a crime to art.
Yes.
That is bad. That is morally bad. But also I get the idea of somebody who doesn't want to deal with this real spendy prima donna.
Yeah.
Creator. So I don't know. I don't care that much.
No.
It's fine. It is a bummer that Konami stopped making games but now they're kind of doing some good steward stuff with their legacy. The Cowabunga collection is sick. So that's good.
Yeah. So let's kind of hit the high points of the development story. Announced in 2012, the title was confirmed to be Ground Zeroes. Then they did some real coy, aren't we so clever? They announced a game called The Phantom Pain, but without the Metal Gear Solid name. Yeah, Moby Dick Games.
Moby Dick Games where they had the interview with the guy who his face all wrapped in bandages.
Mm-hmm. This is this game looks exactly like Metal Gear, and this is some Kojima shit. You always do this.
Yeah, and one of the so they did that. Everyone figured it out.
Yeah.
And then they eventually announced that Ground Zeroes was a playable prologue. It's going to be a separate product. That went back and forth as well.
Yeah.
When they talk about Kojima, his writing about Ground Zeroes and Phantom Pain is to me a lot of his worst impulses.
Yeah.
His circus showman stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He talks about, he wants to establish this darker tone. He very specifically says at one point, I'm dealing with something so taboo that if I don't land it, I'll have to leave the games industry.
You didn't land it and you're still making games, bud.
Yeah. And neither you didn't land it, my bud. It's hard to know exactly what he's talking about there. You think it'd be the vagina bomb, but that kind of shit has happened. Mm-hmm. Or it's the child soldiers thing, but the child soldiers thing they're just lunatically invincible soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
Does not feel that risque to me.
Yeah.
In this, I don't know what he's talking about.
I think he's specifically talking about sex assault because there's some fucked up stuff that happens in the tapes.
And in addition, I've read about that, but I didn't listen to him because I don't need that energy in my life.
I don't want to hear it. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't, I'm not going to have the event that I care a lot about applied to a character I don't care a lot about and exist in that space.
Yeah.
Theoretically, yes, all those things are horrible. You made a puppet that I don't care about do it. Mm-hmm. It's just indulgent.
Yeah. Nobody's on the other side of this.
Yeah. It's just gratuitous. Him doing that makes him feel like it supports my instincts that he is a con man.
Mm-hmm.
He's a carnival barker who wants people to be hyped up.
Yeah.
I don't trust him.
Mm-hmm. So about the actual game for Phantom Pain, they wanted to get Metal Gear off of its rails. And, an early demonstration showed the same mission being done from 4 different ways, which I think is both a very good way to demonstrate what kind of game this is, and also a way to say this is actually different than how you've handled it before.
Yes. Yeah. There's a new graphics engine in this. So this Kojima said he wanted to tell a story in a different nonverbal way. Mm-hmm. This is the reason why he says they went with Kiefer Sutherland instead of David Hayter for Snake. Mm-hmm. This is contested. Everything is contested in this. I think like the way this guy falls in love with TV and stuff, I think he just got into 24. That sounds like a joke, but I almost guarantee that's what it is.
Based on the hype cycle leading up to Death Stranding and Kojima really seeming hyped about hanging around with Mads Mikkelsen and Norman Reedus, I can totally believe that like he had a chance to get a star and did it and left David Hayter out in the lurch. Do I think David Hayter would have done a better job than Kiefer Sutherland? Not really.
It would have been weird. I don't think Kiefer Sutherland does wonderful work in this. He doesn't do very much. And he doesn't talk very much, which I think is good.
Yes.
And David Hayter's voice is a cartoon voice.
Yeah.
Like we don't, that the Metal Gear has always been a little bit more grounded than like a Mario, but his voice is exceedingly silly.
Yes.
Like any voice every single person in the world can do an impersonation of is silly.
Yep.
It doesn't sound like a real person.
Yeah.
David Hayter would have felt weird doing this. But for me personally, I have to balance it with my contempt for Kojima's Starfucker stuff. Like him just being like, oh man, a superstar, movies. I don't find that endearing. I find it like pitiable. So it just ends up feeling silly.
Yeah.
To me.
I would be way more annoyed about it if it was like a David Cage thing and it made we've got all of that, but also it's a worse product.
Yeah.
Like Mads Mikkelsen and Norman Reedus do a good job in Death Stranding. Like it's good. It's additive. Yeah. Kiefer Sutherland does a good job here. It is a performance that better fits the different interpretation of the big boss character, but it is impossible not to look at that behavior and again, feel embarrassed. The watchword for this, and for me anyway, from the outside is embarrassment.
Yeah. He's an exceedingly embarrassing man.
Yeah.
Imagine knowing him. So they started fighting Konami and Kojima. Konami restructured and made Kojima Productions an outside studio. They took his name off promotional materials in order to kind of reclaim Metal Gear. Like this is a Konami product, not a Kojima product.
Which is wrong.
Well, it is, also that cow's already out of the barn.
Yeah.
Like it's too late to do that.
Yeah.
You're
not going to decouple, not going to decouple those things. And when they made this move, it complicated the development. This is believed to be why so much of that content was cut. It could also just be good old fashioned mismanagement. Again, it's he said kind of deal.
Yeah.
There's a rumor that Kojima was not allowed to talk directly with the team for the last 6 months of development, which is not when that big story stuff is happening. Like that's the polished time. Ideally it should be anyway, so it's hard to say like how much that cut into the heartwood of this, but also not ideal.
Maybe the idea was Konami was making it polished time by doing this.
Yes,
like this person was going to keep fiddling with something. We're $80 million over a budget. We don't know if we're going to get our money back. We have to get this out the door.
Yeah,
and I'm never somebody who's going to take a business decision and make it justify an artistic decision. I don't feel like cutting the second half of this was a bad artistic decision though.
Right.
So like, it doesn't feel like it would have been better if this had not happened. It would have been indulgent. It would have been longer, but I don't think it would have been a better product. So a symptom of this is that Konami's lawyers kept Kojima from accepting an award at the VGAs. That's real petty and shitty.
Yeah.
I don't like that. Kiefer Sutherland accepted instead. This game was very, very well accepted by critics. Lots of perfect 10s. Yeah. Which to me is a little bit strange, even as somebody who likes this game a lot and from a play perspective.
It feels like this game is a high enough profile. We have to give it the glowing, and then immediately, like a month later, we're going to reevaluate it. Yeah.
Yep. And a lot of those reviews came out of a very specific press boot camp event at Konami's location, where they had like 17 hours with the game.
I think that there's some problems with this industry, Gary.
It's ethics in my game journalism. So it is a thing where if something gets those, there's a reason why we get our Dragon Age Inquisitions and BioShock Infinites all getting Game of the Year stuff. Like game reviewers, there's a problem with that, like a huge problem. To take it off of the individuals, that's an institutional problem more so than on any individual person who is caving to, likely caving to business pressures instead of editorial ones. Weirdly enough, it's not even an outlet problem solely. So like something like that, like GameSpot or whatever, they're complicit in it, but Konami will be like, yes, you are going to want these clicks. Your readers want to know about this. If you want to review this, we are going to fly you out to a little like cell where you can just play this while we wine and dine you.
Yeah.
Those are our conditions. Like hasn't got nothing to do with art. Got nothing to do with criticism. Like it's pretty gross. It is hard to chart the trajectory in which I had become disillusioned with games journalism as a thing over the last like 10 years, like as just this is just gross. The reality of websites means that, good work is the exception. Yeah. There. And that's why people should turn to podcasts.
The one true form.
The one true form. I mean, there are a lot of ways in which we are not beholden to those pushes.
Yeah.
I went to one industry event in my life. I went to the Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin thingy. They did not really know how to talk to me. The director of that was very charmed that I did a podcast about Dark Souls and thought that was really weird. And then they gave me a mouse pad and a folder. And
Yay!
it was real funny. And kind of fun. I got to meet Vadavidya and Dave Control and stuff. Like that was fun, but it was not, I did not feel beholden to it. And we never got invited back to anything like that. Other people got flew out to Germany and shit for Dark Souls 3 and were given statues and swords and stuff. And it never happened for us because we're not advertising for them.
Yeah. Weird. Critics loved it. More divisive by fans. I think any series disestablished that is also kind of has been this opinionated in design over time is going to, divide people. There also were justified controversies both with Ground Zeroes and Phantom Pain about the way women are treated. Pause in Ground Zeroes and Quiet in the Phantom Pain. We can talk about the specifics there, but that is that is not overblown.
Konami's urge to make Metal Gear a Konami thing. They've had one game that came out after this, which is Metal Gear Survive, which weirdly enough, many people have said, hey, if you want to do cool base clearing action without Kojima stuff, it's there.
A big streamer just started doing it, and that sucks for me because I was like, oh, maybe I should try doing that for a little bit, see how it works. So now it feels like
you're
follow the leader
with that guy.
I'm not necessarily competing with it. Yeah, but it's just also
I think you could do that. Yeah, it made me want to play Metal Gear Survive, like Metal Gear 5 without Kojima stuff still my fucking heart. And people who are bona fide fans of the series and stuff have said that too. Like our friend Allison, I think, is a big Metal Gear Survive fan.
Oh, cool.
And our friend Bob Mackey, who is, at least warm to some Metal Gear stuff. I know he loved Peace Walker. Like he was a really early champion of Peace Walker for this gameplay loop, was a big fan of Survive. And like, I
trust those people.
I trust those people, and in my experience, like when Kojima gets away from Metal Gears, you get really interesting things. You get your Revengeances, and your Acids and stuff. Games I think are pretty neat. Yeah. I'm probably going to play Metal Gear Survive at some point, and I'm excited about it. And it might end up being my favorite Metal Gear game and the ultimate Joker move.
Well, I mean, it would be right in line with you saying that Lords of the Fallen is your favorite Dark Souls.
Oh, yeah. Man, I cannot wait for that reboot.
The reboot.
So Konami has been basically out of AAA publishing since then. They have kind of focused on their gambling and leisure divisions, which that sucks, but that's always been the reality of Konami. Yep. They have had a gambling and leisure division in Japan that was huge, that, made tons of money this whole time.
Yep.
It's only here that it's felt like they were primarily a games thing. They've also, they had a lot of problems. You under no circumstances have to hand it to them. I like how they've been curating their past work. Yes. I think that GBA collection of Castlevanias is not only like a nice, tidy little product, but it's really generous and great.
Yeah.
Like
$20 for those 3 good games. Yeah.
Good Lord. Like great games that are kind of a pain in the ass to play and hard to find. Like I said, the Cowabunga collection is great. I love how inclusive that is. Like the second and third Game Boy Turtles games are really good.
Oh, the second one, I played the shit out of that. Yeah,
not a lot of people play those, and they're really good. And those are generous with like tons of back matter and region differences. Like you get the Genesis and Super Nintendo version of those games, plus the Japanese versions of both. Like they're really nice packages.
Yeah.
So, a little bit of a kudos in there. Like there's still cool stuff coming out of Konami. It's just not big AAA stuff.
It's not the scale of this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Kojima went on to establish a new studio, put out Death Stranding. I'm unclear what they're working on right now. Kind of seems like they've got a couple of things in the fire, but that could all just be, again, Carnival Barker, like, oh, they're actually the same thing, but it's different parts of it. I don't, I do not buy into hype on any of it. I just wait until the game's there.
Yeah.
I didn't watch.
Hard to tell.
I didn't watch a single trailer for Death Stranding. I was just kind of like, oh, people are saying this game's fun to play. Cool. I'm going to jump in without 3 years of hype built up and expectation and stuff.
Hype is poison. Kill the hype inside you.
Yeah.
Did you ever beat Death Stranding, or did you like play it and poke at it?
No, I beat it. It's good.
Okay. Yeah, I could not remember if that were the case.
I
know a lot of people have played it who have not gotten to the end of it.
Mm-hmm. It's long. It's way too long. But it is similar in composition to Metal Gear Solid 5, insofar as like a lot of that is play. Mm-hmm. It does not. It is not just cutscene kind of stuff. There are cutscenes. And it's not magically made by a different person. Coconut didn't fall on Kojima's head. But the ratio is headed in the right direction if you take a look at this and Death Stranding.
Yeah, they get concentrated because we're going to talk about, not so much because we're going to talk about Ground Zeroes real quick because so much of the generalities apply to us, but the beginning of Phantom Pain is very cutscene, which we'll get to. Let's talk about Ground Zeroes, however.
Here's to you, Nicola and Bart. Rest forever here in our hearts. The last and final moment is yours. That agony is your triumph. Here's to you, Nicola and Bart. Rest forever here in our hearts. The last and final.
Let's do. We're introduced. It's rainy. We're at this camp where a bunch of prisoners are being held, and we see Skullface. It's weird that they call him Skullface. He was originally going to be called Scarface, and the thing that Kojima likes to do, which is name characters after movies. But he's just a guy. His whole head is covered in scar tissue. It looks kind of skeletal.
He's the Red Skull. He's the Red Skull, but with white instead of red.
Yeah,
it's literally just the Red Skull. I'm not saying that as a partisan. It's just the case. It's not an original character design.
Right. Yeah. But he walks into this place called Camp Omega in Guantanamo Bay, and approaches Chico's cage. Like I said, this is Peace Walker stuff. Chico, character from Peace Walker. Paz, the character from Peace Walker, he tells Chico, hey, she's dead. Then gives him a Walkman that Chico listens to, and it plays the audio of her being killed.
Yep. And we hear a conversation between Big Boss and Kaz. Kaz is also a Peace Walker character. They do very little to onboard you. One of the things about later Metal Gear games that are interesting is that, like, as you may want to dip in with the play, it becomes more dependent on knowledge that you are not going to have if you just want to play. Mm-hmm. Like, I could recommend almost anybody play Metal Gear 5 because it's a fun video game. Mm-hmm. I came into this with a little bit of knowledge, having played 1 through 3 and read the synopsis of Peace Walker, and touched on 4, like played a little bit of 4. So I know a little bit, but if you don't know anything, like, you just want to skip all this shit because it's not interested in onboarding you. Like, these are supposed to be totemic names with power to you.
I mean, we call him Kaz. That's another name given to him. This is McDonald Miller. This in Metal Gear Solid 1, remember your martial arts guy who gave you tips about combat stuff.
Yes.
Snake's trainer. This is him.
Yeah. Yep. While this is happening, a song plays that is a song I really love, which is called
Here's to You. I love it. Yeah.
A song I really, really like. Part of me feeling like my general contempt for Kojima of playing with things that he doesn't, a kid playing with matches thing, is they play this song and at the end, he talks about it. He's like, the song about the execution of Sacco and Vanzetti, people who were killed to send a message. Do you think that will be you? That's a really complicated story.
It is.
Sacco and Vanzetti, that is not about the things that this is about.
No, it's baffling.
It's it is baffling. It's also irritating to me.
Mhm.
Like that song is about something.
Yep.
You know, and it's not about what Skullface says it is about.
No.
Like he speaks at length about what the message he got from that song. Like they were killed as a message, you know, but that's not the main thing about the Sacco and Vanzetti trials.
No.
You know,
Like
and it's this beautiful, like, this is really, you know, irritating to me when you're watching the scene of him walking to the song, because it's this, the song is, you know, I can't remember the name of the musical thing where it just does the same thing over and over and
Right,
builds.
yeah.
Like there's no verse or chorus to the song. It just goes.
That's just here's to you, Nicola and Bar. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and repeats. I first heard it in The Life Aquatic. I guarantee that's where Kojima first heard it because it's from a movie. They don't just let the music play until the very end. It's over the sounds of like military fetishistic boots and helicopters and guns cocking and shit.
Yeah.
In a way that pretends towards profundity and drives me a little bit nuts.
It's like, it's got like Sacco and Vanzetti got nothing to do with the military.
Got nothing to do with the military. Got, you know, there's language things because they were executed for being, you know, they were scapegoats because they were Italian.
Yeah.
But also because of anarchism. Like that is about, you know, yeah, it's not about the things that your game is like, about, my man.
And it's like anarchism as part of like as part of like the first Red Scare that not everybody talks about, you know, like.
And that's stuff that I imagine Kojima has some interest in, and that defenders, like his most strident defenders of this game, are gonna be like, oh yeah, Phantom Pain is also about that. It's very rich. It's about many, many things. This game has no fucking story until the last 5 missions where it starts talking about Code Talker shows up. Like, you know, not Ground Zeroes, but Phantom Pain. Like it is definitively not about those things. It reminds me a lot of when I read Ready Player One.
Oh yeah.
And how it pageants things out without using them to a purpose. Like a character will be wearing a Moon Patrol shirt, or a character will go into the Temple of Elemental Evil without acknowledging that those things are about something.
Yeah.
They have a history, there's a purpose to those, you know, and when you're borrowing bits of pop culture from other things, you should do it responsibly.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Diamond Dogs thing.
This has nothing to do. Like, it's baffling because the entire game story is kind of like it fits with the man who sold the world, right? So how can you look at the man who sold the world, get that, and then take Diamond Dogs, which is like an aborted concept album about 1984, like
a post-apocalyptic, like very specifically, Diamond Dogs, the song is about a post-apocalyptic like landscape after 1984. He just thinks it's cool, and for some people that's very endearing, like, oh, he likes pop culture and he puts that on Front Street. But to me, pop culture matters, and like you don't just pageant out references. That's Rick and Morty shit. That's Ready Player One shit. You know, but those, you know, Ready Player One isn't considered to be a genius. This guy is, and it drives me fucking nuts. He's Mark Borchardt. Like
it's a 2-panel comic. You know, their first panel is him hugging and loving and doting on the signifier, while in the second panel we see outside the signified is starving to death in a ditch.
It's exactly that. It hurts my soul, especially when it's stuff I care about. Like I am, you know, David Bowie's very important to me. You know, make fun of me if you like for caring about stuff. That's the internet. But like, I derive a lot of meaning from these songs that I don't think, you know, again, the man who sold the world is okay. That is being used responsibly. All of the other stuff that is being used is not being used responsibly. Yeah.
Up to and including Moby Dick.
Yeah. Which is, boy, is it used. Like, and also what a hoary cliche using Moby Dick as a metaphor is. Like that was already a metaphor. And now when people are like, yes, it's like the whale from Moby Dick.
But it's literature, you see.
I hate how much he is like a head empty, no thoughts, mind of a child playing with the toys of culture. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, but I learned about that mid-year Man Who Sold the World cover. So cool.
I hate that cover. I think it's a really bad. I wish they'd use the one from Life Aquatic. I know he's seen Life Aquatic. Use that guy's cover.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I don't. It gets rid of the hook. Like it's a weird move.
Yeah.
So that song's playing. He goes up to his helicopter and he uses a super black light to erase the paint. there. They have, while this is happening, Kaz and Big Boss talking about they have the intel. Paz is still alive and acting as a double agent. And they also find out that a UN inspector is coming to Mother Base because they heard they got nukes. They heard they got newts, and they just think they're neat.
Okay, thank you.
And,
all right.
Yeah, the timing cannot be a coincidence.
Yes.
There.
Yeah.
So we want to extract them before they can talk, basically. This is not a
Right.
mission of, only kind of knew at this point who Chico and Paz were. I didn't know that Paz was basically the villain at the end of Peace Walker.
She's an agent who looks like an innocent little girl who happens to also be working to undermine everything sent in because she matches what Big Boss and the others would interpret as a genuine believer in peace.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I've tried starting Peace Walker a lot. It is very hard to play that on a PS Vita. I am allergic to controlling a camera with face buttons. I don't
like it very much either. Yeah. I think it might have been ported. I can't remember though.
It's ported. I've got the PS3 version, but I don't want to plug in my PS3. So we're really clearly defining like the limitations of how much effort I'm willing to put in on this.
Agree to which you want to play it. Like I'd play it if I was already playing it.
Yeah.
The whole, so Skullface again, he knocks out the XOF, which is for people who are really keyed into the deep themes and secrets of this, is Fox backwards. He goes in there and he erases that and orders men to roll out. The Trojan horse is in.
Yes.
This is a false flag kind of thing.
Right. They're setting us up. They know we're coming.
Yeah.
And so Big Boss is climbing up the shoreside cliff here and gets to Camp Omega. This is where we can talk about some of the play in Ground Zeroes, because this is really difficult. I expected to be rusty coming back to this because I hadn't played it for a while. I was shocked at how much I ate shit in this versus how quickly I got up to speed in Phantom Pain.
There's a very specific, there's a real good reason for that. Phantom Pain is structured like a video game with a a difficulty,
like a ramp up. Yeah,
ramp up. This is meant to be a challenge mission that is played over and over and over with mildly different goals. They had to make this its own product. When it was kind of up in the air whether this is going to be its own game or just conjoined to the game. So it's not a first level.
Yeah.
It's something that has to be a middle and kind of hit both. It's really hard. It's not as well designed as the areas of Phantom Pain to me. It's a big, complicated base, which is cool. The sightlines are not as well considered. As they would be. It just is not, and it doesn't quite feel as snappy. They did some refinement of the controls. Yeah. In between them that are almost, are hard to describe, but you can feel them in your hands. That make Phantom Pain feel a lot better.
The sightlines are an important part of that, an important part of the way this is laid out, how it fails. North-south sightlines, there's barely any. It's almost always going to be blocked. Whereas east-west sightlines, somebody will see you from what feels like across the map.
Yeah. Yep. You can kind of understand what they were doing in creating basically a Hitman episode. Yeah. That you can go through and making it really dense, but it's just not as well made. It's a lot more densely guarded. You also don't have your tool box that you unlock through Phantom Pain as well, which ended up being a really important part of that arc. So there's a lot of guards left, who are left at the camp. And so to the they're on the left, to the right are the staff buildings, and there's a prison to the further east with this huge industrial facility to the north. We don't have to go through all this. No. We go to the prison and then we go under the staff buildings basically to complete the mission. I only did the mission. I didn't do extra stuff in this.
Same. Yeah. The extra stuff gets into here's Raiden. Here's Solid Snake. That kind of stuff. The Easter egg.
I don't care. For me, I'm not saying that to shut you up. I'm saying that to the game.
No. I didn't get this because I thought the idea of a playable prologue that you had to buy was not the greatest, I think I got this when it was $10 on Amazon shortly before Metal Gear Solid 5 came out, and I just played them in a go. I didn't feel like repeating this because I had the full game of Metal Gear Solid 5 to get into that I was excited to. If I sat down with just this, I probably would have. I could see myself fucking around with repeats, but not as
I could see when I was younger.
Yeah.
I'm just less interested in playing just the Warehouse of Tony Hawk over and over on a demo.
Right.
with different things. You go to the old prison area, sneak in, which is not very well guarded. Get there and you find Chico. Chico's freaking out. He freaks out. He wakes up the nearby prisoners. He's got a little hole in his neck for earbuds, for headphones, which is gonna, that image is gonna come up in another 30 hours. And we have to choke him out to shut him up. Paz is not here, and his Achilles tendons have been bolted Misery style, so he cannot walk. Later he does stand up in the helicopter, but let's all ignore that. So we have to carry him to a rendezvous point.
This is another thing. You can't Fulton people in this. So if you want to capture them, you have to call the chopper down and then carry them to it. Yeah. There's a sequence here. So you take the tape that Skullface gave him and you follow these audio clues, like, oh, we hear a car pass, we hear a generator, trying to determine where Paz is, which takes us to the generator underneath those industrial and staff buildings.
You get down there, you grab her, you have to extract. It's worth talking about how, we talked about how this is more difficult. This area just has literally a tank pointing at you on your exit point. It's like they really overplay their hand in terms of this.
There's a real you see a little grate that you can crawl under. Great. Great. No, it doesn't go inside. It just goes to another area where there are more guards that'll see you when you stand up.
Yeah.
Like, why is this thing here? What is this draining?
Yeah, it's not not super good. When you get there, you get Paz, she's unconscious. So you grab her and you carry her to the extraction point. And then when we get her into the chopper, she's complaining. She's moaning in pain and complaining. And the medic who's here, believe it or not, important, finds out that she has a bomb in her stomach. They've Batman Dark Knight her. I guarantee that's exactly where this came from, because if it came from a movie, that's where Kojima got it.
So there's a very, very grisly scene of them digging around inside her abdominal cavity without any anesthetic.
There's no time for anesthetic. It's just a shot, motherfucker. There's time, gross.
Then
after they do it, it's clean, sew her up. And in no universe is that clean. This was also before I realized, the first time I saw this, I did not realize she was a villain, and maybe they were being cavalier with her life on purpose. Or didn't care, but it's so it's probably fine.
Yeah.
Literally just fucking elbow deep rummaged.
Yeah.
Inside her.
This is how we got from the coast of Costa Rica to Cuba. Somebody's bag of combos is rolling around in here. Can we account for it? It's
the Seinfeld where the junior mint falls inside the surgery.
Yeah.
Well, and then there's actually a second junior mint the Skullface put in there in a place you'd never look.
So they get back to Mother Base thinking, hey, mission accomplished. But it was accomplished because it was allowed to be accomplished. We arrive and see that the base is on fire and the different struts are being blown apart. This is a big setup to get us away from Mother Base so it could be taken out. And Snake just barely manages to extract Miller.
Yep. And Miller blames Paz for what's happening. She blabbed on Mars, Quaid.
Miller has to chill the fuck out.
You have one horrible little dork and one cowboy on your base. And if you stop caring about them, the game gets way better. If you just start this is the fucking shitty limpy guy, and this is the salsa commercial, and that's who I got. The more you think about them as characters, the worse it is. Miller freaking out about Quiet is so irritating. When we get to that part, Miller needs to chill out. Miller sucks.
Yeah.
She gets up and she says there is a bomb there. Snake's like, no, we got rid of the bomb. And she goes to the door and goes, no, there's another in my, and jumps out of the plane and blows up. This is the bomb that was in, we're going to have the Skullface is going to reveal this here in a moment. She explodes, takes out two of the Mother Base helicopters. And then we get this little text about how the US and UN denied any involvement. And our post credits with Skullface interrogating Paz, about the whereabouts of Zero. Again, they rely on who Zero is. The bomb was in her vagina. So Skullface did a classic double, here, they'll find the the one bomb, the obvious bomb.
Mhm.
We put it in another place that nobody would look. This is fucking gross.
Yep.
Just real gross.
Yeah, it's and like, yes, it is the action of a villain. It is not supposed to be good.
It's also, this villain is not supposed to be. So like when we talk about having his cake and eating it too, that is Kojima.text. Like, this is a villain.
Mhm.
This is the action of an outright, absolutely evil, like Luca Blight villain. And I can accept that kind of thing from time to time, even when it strays into real queasy territory.
Yeah.
I like the demons in Berserk.
Mhm.
I think that works because this is an otherworldly evil that is as evil as it gets.
Yeah,
That's not what Skullface is supposed to be. Skullface is kind of borders on anti-hero, because near the end you're supposed to be like, this guy's got some points.
Mhm.
You know, and some level Kojima understands that a villain should have an arguable goal.
Should have shade.
That's a virtue. He just fucks it up because he's inept.
Yeah.
Like, those things cannot, him being against, you know, having these good points about English as a colonialist language that is enforcing things, cannot exist alongside the scary skull-faced man who sticks bombs into children's vaginas.
Mhm. Or
Those two
people who
things-
look like children's vaginas.
I am not, I will, yes. I don't grant, anime
it's still
and things I'm
just
excuse.
I'm getting out in front.
Yeah, it is, to me, it is on Kojima that technically it's not a child.
Yeah,
It looks like a child. That never works on me. I hate
that doesn't solve the problem like you think it does.
Yeah, it doesn't. Age of consent laws, like it's just gross. You know, not technically illegal. It doesn't. One is a very high register of thing, and one is a very low register of thing.
Mhm.
And when you're dealing with things that are real and that real people are hurt by, and things that should be treated with more respect, it is incredibly disrespectful to do stuff like that.
It's volatile compounds, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like it's completely off base. You know, as subject matter, it's not like it can never be depicted. And also, as critics understanding, depiction is not endorsement. See also Best Quality Vacuum coming to Duckfeed at the end of this month. Talking about Breaking Bad, depiction is not endorsement, please. But like, no, if you're going to venture to deal with it, be careful. Like, caution is advised.
Yeah, he doesn't have the responsibility.
No.
It's Jurassic Park. You know, he didn't put in the work. It's also has brought out the worst of TV tropes, which I just have to note. Like, TV tropes is a bad thing.
That screen cap that you shared was wild.
It's incredible. Like, if you want to see, if you're somebody who is biased, and I admit to being biased,
Mhm.
and find a lot of Kojima, you know, apologism, like, laughable, that is the number one place to find it. Like, you get sentences like, you know, Skullface, you know, at first it seems weird that Skullface put a bomb in her vagina, but just think, why would Snake look there? And like, you solved it, Sherlock.
You did it.
Like, maybe the V star was actually, it wasn't for victory. Maybe it was for vagina, and it was Skullface's twisted clue to try. He's the clue clown, and he's gonna let Snake know is playing a mind game with him. He'd never look in the vagina.
A V can also mean 5 in Roman numerals, but there's also an arrow pointed to where the real bomb was.
The real bomb, the pussy bomb is. Like, and just people just be, this is what passes for like sophistication for some folk. You know, like, if it works for you in a general sense, if you're not those TV tropers, like I am condemning those, if you have an argument for why this works, that's okay. I'm not saying you're automatically a dum-dum. It is a dum-dum thing, though, to be like, to just absolutely contort yourself to excuse this shitty thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, it has to be genius because a character has a reason for doing it. And I had a moment of fridge brilliance. I was going to make a sandwich and I thought, shit, V stands for vagina as well. And I got to post about this online.
Just
the worst of fandom.
Sitting there looking out at the ocean, and then just an epiphany comes. You get up and you run through the seagulls.
Yeah, you run the beach.
I must post.
Like, guys, I just realized the snake would never look inside her vagina.
Yeah.
You know, like,
And if you're ambivalent about Kojima stuff, like I am, I'm not ambivalent about the vagina bomb, but like, you know, it's worth saying, like, okay, like, yeah, you can remark on this, you can remark on an aspect of it, like that becomes unusual or like rises up, you know, you think maybe rises above the median of, you know, some form or another.
Yeah,
you can say that, but also like packaged in, you know, you can have multiple thoughts in your head, say like, man, it's kind of a shame that this is the guy. You know, it's kind of a shame that this is the example that I have to point to for a game XYZ, whatever you're kind of you're pointing at.
Yeah,
you know,
you can ask for better.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't lose a war. I'm not somebody who can't. There are tons of creators I like who do shitty things and have written shitty things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, big Lovecraft guy. There are Lovecraft passages that I wouldn't, you know, read out loud. I wouldn't let, you know, my mother read, you know, and know that I was into, right? It's not that you don't have to like everything about somebody to like them.
Yeah.
And I think even if you're a Kojima fan and you like Kojima, I don't think the woman stuff is defensible.
Yeah.
Between this and Quiet, I don't think that's something that you got to go to bat for.
Mm-hmm.
You should allow that dissonance. You know, it cannot damn it for you. You can hold those two ideas in your head at two different times, but like, this is undeniably fucking shitty.
Yeah. Yeah.
Queasy, gross, you know, going to Guantanamo Bay where real people are sexually tortured recently. That is the reason why it's happening here, is because that happened recently. He wanted to evoke that pathos. And showing sexual torture is playing with things that are beyond his ken.
Yeah.
And I hate that about him. I hate that he does it.
Just wish you would have known that wasn't your shot to take, bud.
Yep. As somebody who will never stay in their lane, does not believe in lanes, you know? Getting into the prologue of Phantom Pain, I think there's a really interesting like Kojima litmus test about this, whether this opening is good or bad to you. Like this to me is something I pay for. Like I pay to play the rest of the game. And then I've also seen people who are like, I wish the rest of the game was like this. Like this is the stuff I'm here for. I think you might be one of the only people I've ever met who's relatively ambivalent about it.
Yeah.
Most people I know either really go for it or not, but this to me, I hate this. This is a hell. And this is a price I have to pay, to get to the game.
Yeah. To me, this feels like, I don't know, kind of attempting to put like a little horror movie. Like it is playing in a space evoking, you know, attention and a suspense that normally it doesn't, you know? So like it buys it for me the first time, you know, I played through, I was like, oh wow, this is not how I expected the beginning of this to go. And the way this is shot is arresting to me. It's not meant to be done, you know, like nobody has enough goodwill to watch this twice. And that is not just on playthroughs, but to get the like the true ending and stuff, you got to do this again, which is fucking unacceptable.
Amazing. Just amazing amounts of hubris. You know, to it. It's a weird thing that like will bother me because I want to play a video game, you know, and there's something about straddling a line of barely interactive that I think is a tricky thing to make work. Yeah. You know, like, if this were just a cutscene for the whole time, like that would drive me mad. Oh, yeah. I don't know that it's better that I'm holding up to make my little guy squeak across the floor. The other thing I think is really interesting about this Awakening prologue, and I'm spending time on this because it's real infamous. And once we get to the game part of it, we're going to move. I think things will move a lot faster because we're infiltrating bases and it's all gravy. Yeah. Is that a lot of his insecurities as a storyteller on display here? Nothing can be shown once, twice, 3 or 4 times. You know, we have to watch during this thing, a group of doctors get slaughtered by the bad guys 6 or 7 times. Yep. We have to watch our character try to get up and fall 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. It is not enough. He does not trust me to understand what he's trying to communicate with this character without underlining it and highlighting it and circling it a lot.
It's farcical. Like I can't count how many times showing Psycho Mantis and the Man on Fire is treated as a reveal. It's like, okay, yeah, I see them in the elevator, like, whoa, all right, that gives me a lot to think about. This kind of stuff is in play. Is that real or is this something I'm seeing? XYZ, something like that. Yeah. And then 7 minutes later, they're basically being introduced in the exact same way.
It happens so many times. He is a sweaty creator. Like he is trying very hard to a funnier, like, I think that's very funny too. How many times in this does a horse rear up?
So many times,
dude. Like, what is happening? Like, it's like you didn't get hit on the head with a coconut. It's like he has this weird short-term amnesia where he forgot he put that in. There's the podcasts that come out of the iHeartRadio network have their editing fucks up. Whoever does their editing fucks up and things repeat. A character will start a line, a podcaster will start a line and then restart it. Happens a lot. Yeah. This is what that feels like to me. Ludicrous shit. Yeah.
Let's talk about what actually happens here.
That's a patina over the whole thing. I can't just be like, here's the sixth time some doctors got shot.
Right. I'm fine being the one coward who is ambivalent about this. So
it doesn't make you a coward. It's just it's fascinating to me. Every excess is in microcosm on display in this awakening.
And then it goes away for a long time.
Really long time.
We get a little slate at the start, kind of setting things up. We get a quote from Emil Chirin. Says, "It is no nation we inhabit, but a language. Make no mistake, our native tongue is our true fatherland. A theme that is delivered upon, but in a big rush at the end."
Can I also I'm just going to underline something real quick. I'm going to Kojima it up. I even think that quote should have been abbreviated. Yeah. Like that quote says the same thing twice. It's incredibly Kojima. Like, it is no nation we inhabit, but a language. Punchy, effective, tells you the message. Then the second line just restates the same thing. Yeah. It's like the most Kojima thing that's ever been.
You could have picked either one of those. Like the quote could have also been, "Make no mistake, our native tongue is our true fatherland."
Both of those sound cool and punchy and good and are good, worthwhile things saying, but it has to be twice because of sweat. Because so this is happening over the sound of a helicopter or chopper going down, not landing, but like crashing.
Yeah, it's the audio of what happens at Mother Base. Yeah, you being blowed up, and we see Big Boss looking into a mirror and putting on a Walkman, playing the mid-air cover of "The Man Who Sold the World."
This is a scene where you're in a hospital in bed. You're waking up. The doctor, it says V has come to. The doctor comes, takes your name, says you've been in a coma for 9 years. This doctor is very funny, and the scene's very funny. It constantly shows a little controller symbol to remind you can control it. But there's no real reason to do it. No. And his bedside manager is fucking awful. Like, the writing and dialogue here is not good. It's like, you've been in a coma for 9 years. You start like freaking out. He's like, "No, please be calm. Allow me to tell you an incredibly other upsetting thing very bluntly."
I've got some real bad news about the president.
It's so good. It's very funny. There's a lot of controversy with this because this is apparently the likeness of a very specific doctor.
Yeah, very specific. It was the neurosurgeon who claimed to have done the first head transplant.
Yep. And then they denied it. And it's like, why? Like, we know that if you see something, you just use it. Yeah. Why are you denying it, man? Like, this is entirely your trick. Like, nobody believes you. So you go into he gives you an injection and you go back into a coma for a week. And
we're gonna need to titrate up his coma.
Yeah. He's a little bit more coma time. And you wake up, they set you up and they explain your injury. Like, you got shrapnel and human bones and teeth sticking in you, and then a horn sticking out of your skull. Yeah. And then he's like, "Oh yeah, it's better you find out directly. Look down." And then you look and you see your arms missing. You do the exact same freak out. And then it goes 2 weeks. Like, if it were meant to be funny, if this weren't meant, it'd be very funny, played with the cadence of humor. Like, 2 weeks later,
I want to read
The Simpsons forgetting Grandpa, like, on the way to the Shining Hotel. Did you forget to lock the front door? No, it's that.
It always, these Saturdays are so relaxing. Not like those fake Saturdays that almost get me fired.
It's exactly that. But played with the seriousness of a fucking heart attack and generating so many essays. It's so funny.
This is where they do some sleight of hand, and I think it's worth just saying what the twist is so we don't have to be coy boys and beat around it. Do you think that makes sense, or do we want to...
Yeah, I don't care to... I don't want to coy boy. Like, I'm with you. I don't want to dance around this.
And also, just I don't think that the way that they're playing dirty pool here, continuity wise. They're like they're not showing you things as they are. And then they're going to show you things just like, oh, you see, you didn't get it because we didn't show it to you. You didn't see it. Like, that's not a way that you do a twist. That's how twists work. You're not Big Boss. You are Big Boss's number one guy from Militaire Sans Frontier.
You're his medic.
Yeah, you're his medic.
You're the guy. You're the medic who failed to find the vagina bomb.
Yeah,
and you have been plastic surgeried and brainwashed into thinking you are Big Boss.
Yeah, you've been hypnotized. You went through Big Bossification.
Hypnotism is in play. The mark of great storytelling. Like a guy with a pendant and a hat with a swirl on it came in and told you you're a big boss. Like, God, this is so fucking silly and dumb.
But you are intended to be to take the heat, to be the public big boss, while the actual big boss goes and sets up outer heaven in the background. Just that as a twist. I'm fine with there being a fake out. I honestly don't care that you're not playing as big boss. You're doing big boss shit, and they even say at the end, we're both big boss. The legend is ours because we both made it. Fine, cool. That's basically just Metal Gear Solid 2's message about the player. You know,
I hate that they reuse the message about the player.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't really like the message about the player in general as the crowning thing of the series. Like, being like, it was actually, got to hand it to the fans who also made the legend of this. I think that's really grody.
Time Magazine Person of the Year 2006 being a little foil mirror on the cover.
That is what that's what the twist of this game is. Mm-hmm. The fact that it's the player, I think, is lame.
Yeah.
So you put it in, and it also would be less lame if you didn't already do it. Like it would be fine the first time, but nobody forgot the best thing you did, like the smartest thing you ever did, man.
Yeah.
So you put in, you do your character, you create your avatar, and you create your name. The doctor says, as of today, your name is Ahab. This doctor is taking a lot of liberties. Yeah. As this is happening, somebody garrotes the nurse behind.
Yeah.
And you struggle to do anything. You can't speak, I guess, at this point.
Yeah. And the doctor is like, all right, well, we've changed your appearance. You're gonna go into hiding. Lots of people want you dead. My nurse just got garroted behind me, but I'm not aware of it. And he shows you just kind of this overlapping set of photos, of troops at the old outer heaven, or at the old mother base rather. And then he holds up a mirror saying, like, okay, it's Big Boss's face. They're just this is your phantom. And then the woman garrots him. So the doctor goes down too. This is quiet. We're not going to see her again for a long time, but she is an assassin who's been sent by XOF to take you out.
She said, she notices that you saw her. She's like, the patient in the next bed saw my face, and she starts strangling you. And you go unconscious, but there's somebody else who's been in the next bed who's been quiet with your voice, and tackles her and then sets her on fire.
Twice.
And then
it's sets her on fire
twice. And then is like, I gave her a light and she had to jet or whatever. Says some little joke.
Yeah, she had to take the fast way down or the express elevator or something, because she throws her out a window. Yeah.
Yep. This, for all the world, this guy not helping you, and for all the world, plays like he is your subconscious.
Yep.
Like he's not here, but he is here.
Physically,
like he does stuff. It's weird. And the semiotics are all over the place.
In the first version of this, like, he straight up disappears. Like, at the end of it, it's just it literally pulls a Fight Club. You are upside down in the car, and the person who should be in the driver's seat is no longer there. Like, you you get out of the wrong side of it. So shrug, but like, your guy weakly flopping an arm to drag himself, and Ishmael, he says, "Oh, call me Ishmael," because we're literature. Him just not giving you a shoulder is very funny, and yelling at you to go faster.
Real asshole. He also has Kiefer Sutherland's voice, even though you're not going to play as him. So the little twist that's going to be at the end of this game is not that.
It's pretty well telegraphed.
Pretty well telegraphed, but not like it telegraphs that something's going on, but there's so much chaff.
Yeah. Yeah. But he even says, who am I? You're talking to yourself. I've been watching you for 9 years. Call me Ishmael. So
yeah, long, boring 9 years. So we crawl through the hospital. This is one of those like gameplay disempowerment things that I think is meant to have a lot of impact, but does not for me. It's weird that he doesn't help you, and it's really boring. You move incredibly slowly through hallways for a long time.
Yeah, and like it's one of those things where like it reaches the sail, like it gets to it, and it's like, oh, this is like bad dreams I've had. Legs not working, right? Trying to get away. This is a literal nightmare, and then it keeps going. And he tries to pull himself up, but it's a rolling stool, and then it falls over. Well, shit. Okay,
it happens a lot.
It does.
They also, you go into a hallway, you see a bunch of doctors who are like begging you for help or something, and then the soldiers slaughter them. That happens a lot.
Yeah.
This is your tutorial. They introduce the two supernatural villains here. First, with the floating red-haired kid in a gas mask. This is Psycho Mantis. Another one of those things I pulled from TV Tropes. I didn't post it because it wasn't as good as the past stuff. Was somebody who was like, you realize this is Psycho Mantis or something. It's so dressed exactly like Psycho Mantis, and it's a prequel when Psycho Mantis would be a little kid.
Yeah, and also it makes the same sound. Like it makes the gas mask sound, and he's making you see stuff.
It's so clearly like there's no twist to it.
No,
it's a little baby Psycho Mantis,
and then maybe a little bit more of a stretch is the Man on Fire, but like that guy's body shape and his head shape, that's almost exactly Volgan. Like
that relies on you remembering Volgan, I think, who has less like totemic appeal than Psycho Mantis. Like even if people like that game, it's not like people care as much about Volgan.
Yeah, Volgan's kind of an also ran, but like he's wearing Volgan's suit, like it's fused to his skin.
Yeah, I will say, I think as much as I don't love what Man on Fire, like how he's introduced and stuff, and the way that he is, the plot just bends over backwards talking about how cool and invincible he is. It's a great image.
Oh yeah.
I think he's a really cool image. The cast of freaky weirdos that you fight in Metal Gear games is something that I like if they didn't all exposit their tragic backstory when they died. Right. This is a good one. You eventually, after a very long time, you do some stealth rolling under bodies, etc. You do this showdown in the lobby where you finally get a gun and get to do some real shooting. Oh man, on the way here, there's one of the dumbest things that ever happens where you have to pretend to be a corpse, and soldiers come in from both sides and are like, blend in with the corpses or we're dead. And the soldiers come in and they're double tapping every corpse. And then they just get to you and go, and then just stop. It's so fucking stupid. I hate it so much. Like
I can see what you're going for, but like it would have been a lot better if it wasn't just arbitrary.
It's very arbitrary. Like it's not how anything would work. These guys cannot be a serious threat, and it's part of the one of those, again, cake and eat it too things. Like Kojima loves a soldier. He thinks they're full of dignity and stuff. They're also pratfalling diarrhea idiots. Like he does not present a cogent a coherent like worldview of them. These guys are fucking morons. But your whole game series is about the dignity of soldiers. Like we're just the dogs of war and we do what needs to be done. Like you fucking hate soldiers. You think they're fucking idiots. You only like this one super soldier who can do everything on his own. It's I hate him. He turns into Chuck McGill. He's slipping Kojima.
This Kojima, is he in the room with you? Is he here right now?
This Kojima, is he real? Yeah, he's real, man. So anyway, we get to the lobby, which is kind of an action scene, but it's worth noting this whole thing is barely interactive. What you have to do is very obvious. There's no gameplay really to this.
But you shoot some people until XOF and the Man on Fire and stuff get up to you. This is where the Man on Fire demonstrates his ability, taken from 1,000 comics and stuff. Anything that is shot to him, he stores the kinetic energy and stores the bullet and can shoot it all out at once. Okay, cool. Doing a Black Panther armor kind of thing. And Psycho Mantis catches them by surprise by telekinesising a helicopter through them. There's like a crashed helicopter in the front of the lobby, and then he dices them up.
You're saved when you leave and Ishmael pulls up in an ambulance and you drive away. pursued by all this flaming, falling debris. I really wish this was the end of this.
Mm-hmm.
Like seeing like you just got away and that would be cool and exciting, but everything has to be done a million times. You crash at this point because Ishmael gets shot.
Yeah.
You wake up sometime later getting out of the car. A gunship approaches now, but Psycho Mantis appears again and makes a flaming whale appear in the sky to devour the chopper.
The in-universe reason for this. Okay. I'm gonna give you this here. The reason the big fiery whale shows up. So Psycho Mantis activates and leashes onto whoever is the angriest and most desiring of revenge in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Love
and
revenge.
will do things and show them things based on who he is leashed to. So him being leashed to this person saying you are Ahab and then showing the big fiery whale, that is why he is doing that. I present that just to give the justification as I understand it, not to say if it is good or bad. I'm fine with there just being an unmotivated hallucination. It's there. People fixate on this, on the big fiery whale as like a reason not to take this seriously. I don't think it's any more or less ridiculous than similar things that have happened in other parts of this game or other games that he has done that has made that other people have considered to be just fine. So
it's not more beyond the pale. It's selling past the close.
Yeah,
is where my problem with it comes. Like, do this or the million-year-long sequence of having these guys introduced over and over and over and fighting the army.
Yeah,
it's just too much at this point. Like, I get fatigued by this stuff. Like, I went through this as quick as I could, and it was 80 minutes. So that's and I died a couple times. Like, I'm not great at it. I was still getting used to the controls and stuff like that. It took me 80 minutes. That's a feature length movie. Doing the same reveal over and over in a feature length movie is not good. Yeah. And doing this at the end of this did not feel like a climax to me.
Yeah.
Of anything.
Did the flaming Pegasus that comes to life as it's a statue that comes to life, did that help too?
No, it's all selling past the close.
Yeah.
And you can add in a wizard did it. You can just have Psycho Mantis did it because of this thing that comes later. Explaining is not elevating. Like, explaining is not, doesn't have anything to do with the quality or pacing of a scene. Something like a lot of this game and the writing about it works that way. And I think that is part of how Kojima thinks, that if something has an explanation for being, that is the same thing as it being worth doing.
Yeah.
If I can make the equation work, then we're good. I don't think of art that way.
Yeah.
So this happens, a flaming Pegasus appears and you're rescued because Ocelot shows up and does the first of many. Like, this is pretty late in this cutscene for a horse to show up. We're going to get a lot of the horse rearing up. And we do a chase sequence where you're on the back of the horse. The man on fire chases you on his own horse. And you have to shoot him with a shotgun. Weirdly in this game, shotgun have huge range.
Yeah.
I don't know where to put that, but
that's how shotguns are meant to hit something at a pretty fair distance.
Well, they're different kind. Yes. But also video games teach you different,
Yeah, no, just this is more reflective of real life. The choke, the break on a shotgun will affect it. Like, it's meant for shooting birds, that are, 30 feet away. Yeah.
There are also shotguns that just shoot like a big slug, as well. Like, there are different kinds of shotguns. Basically the gameplay of this is trying to time your reloads on the unpredictable times that the man on fire gets close.
Yes.
To you. You near this lighthouse and lightning strikes it as we're over a bridge. Then we have to crawl over this creek bed. Ocelot comes back, reveals himself again. The horse also does the thing. And he says, like, somebody gave him 2 orders to rescue you and rescue Kaz. The whole world wants you dead, and your only hope is to build back up your private army. You get on the horse rears up, and we have to go to Afghanistan, where Kaz was captured by the Mujahideen rebels. He'll probably last about 2 weeks from where you're at. Very funny, gameplay detail stuff is something that Kojima's good at. If you just hang out and wait, you'll keep getting messages from Ocelot being like, Kaz doesn't have much time left. You should probably get on it, boss. And if you wait, like, it's something like 5 days You can get there and have him be dead, and you get a paradox ending.
Yay!
You had to wait. You had to
realize.
wait 5 in-game days, though.
Oh, that's great! I love that.
Yeah. I was too busy smoking my cigar. I was too busy listening to Sting and smoking a cigar.
So along with the with stuff being the twist being telegraphed, there's an awful lot of this that ends up being a little bit like when Skinner came back when Armin Tamzarian came back and took Skinner's place, and just like hi mom, I'm Seymour Skinner. Like, oh, I love you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
like
you're in the third one on the left.
I don't care who you are supposed to be.
Yeah,
like it's I don't care what they say. You're big boss to me.
Yeah. Well, but just when he comes back, it's like, oh yes, your childhood room is the third door on the left. Yeah. Like she fucking knows. But like everybody's like, hi, I'm Ocelot. Remember that person you fought against, but also saved your life? Yeah. No, here's this. But it's like people like almost like guiding him, like doing a cold read. Like, yes, something bad did happen to me in winter, didn't it?
What's very funny is that I don't trust Kojima's writing enough to where even if there wasn't a twist, I still think he'd have characters just expositing to the main character because it's what he's done in every single game he's ever had.
Or something that happens in fiction is expositing to the character, but just like to get the viewer caught up because it might have been a while. Yeah.
Bad fiction though. Like when that comes up, that is known as a shitty thing. There are more elegant ways to do that.
Yeah.
It's a big reason why point of view characters show up. Yeah. But like in fiction, there's all kinds of things people will cut out where it's like, as you know, Steve. Yeah, as you know, we've been, that kind of stuff sucks.
Yeah.
So we get a little montage of taking this whaling ship to Afghanistan while Snake learns to use his prosthetic limb and kind of reconditioning, getting back into shape. There's all this stuff about he's been in a coma for 9 years, but they've been massaging him in his sleep. Very funny. And we go up to this overlook for the first mission here, Phantom Limbs. The horse rears up again. Ocelot points out the general location of where Miller is going to be. The dog Guanadai.
We're going to mess up these pronunciations. Dog Wandai, I think is
I do my best.
Yeah. It's saying like, hey, it's this village, and there's an outpost along the way, kind of sketching all of this out, saying like, hey, this is how this mission's going to go. You're going to have to travel, and there's a place where you can supply on the way over, as long as you play your cards right there. And he gives you Miller's sunglasses.
This is one of the most embarrassing things in the game to me. The brand sunglasses getting the credits. I hate this. And I understand like some people are just like, it's endearing. Like it's fashion. It just is so embarrassing to me. Deeply cringy to like put an advertisement for designer sunglasses that you made your fake little real dolls wear in your video game.
Mm-hmm.
Like I hate it.
Yeah. It's a weird flex.
It's really weird, so this introduces us to our basic loops. Crossing long distances, like this is our horse. This is D horse. Clearing where there's small outposts post on the way you can clear or bypass. It's up to you. There are kind of like fortified buildings here where you can get intel. You scan your intel with your iDroid, which is just an iPhone that has little like burns the paper to read it really quickly and give you the information. It's funny if this summarizes it. If it's just scanning it and then it's on your iDroid, it's very funny because like it's right in front of you.
You could have just read it.
You can read it, and then just but you scan it by burning it.
Yeah. But it's the basic loop here. You reach the village. It's built into a hillside. And there are tons of guards. There are searchlights that are scanning the road. For me, it was nighttime by the time I got there. And there's like trucks driving by. There's Jeeps and stuff. It's pretty difficult and pretty dense. I'm a little bit like out of my depth on the challenge curve at this point, trying to get used to the controls and stuff like that, and understanding like how much control I have over the situations.
Yeah. It's also, this is going to sound like I'm doing a bit, but I'm not. This is one of the Kojima levels. Skulls show up and stuff. I don't think they're as balanced as well.
Oh, wait a minute. Are you saying the skulls show up in this mission?
Oh, the next mission. Sorry, I got ahead of myself.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Whoopsie doodle. Yeah. But yeah, it's you get in there. Kaz is handcuffed to a radiator. And you give him his sunglasses that does the little and meme. I have no idea where this started, but kept you waiting. Okay.
You
Cool.
don't respond. You don't say you don't say that. He wants you to say it, and you don't say it unless you press triangle unprompted.
Oh, weird.
To say it. So,
yeah. Oh yeah, the skulls do show up.
Do show up here. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, I forgot about that.
I get. It's like the second part of the mission. Mist shows up, and this time we're not supposed to fight the skulls, which makes them less of a headache.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I run from them. The only time that I kill a skull is in the metallic
mission
arcade.
Where you have to.
Yeah, the mission where you have to. Yeah.
I run from them too. I hate this game that's about expression that fighting them sucks so bad.
Yes.
They break all of the rules. Mm-hmm. Like I think that they're very poorly designed enemies.
They can warp in front of you and do a stomp on your vehicle, destroying it instantly. Yeah.
No, just really over the top and exceedingly uncool. This one, you just want to get on the horse and run away. Once you get out of the fog, they're not there. What the hell was that? That was cool. They don't say that, but that's that's the implication. You're heading to Mother Base, and while you're there, Kaz talks about how he can still feel his missing limbs, his phantom limbs, and how he swears revenge against Cypher, race and revenge.
Yeah, this is like we're going to get back our past or whatever it is. It's a big meme. I mean, so Miller's voice actor, it's Raiden's voice actor, basically doing something indistinguishable from Raiden in Psycho Jack mode or whatever it is, except when he's saying dry expository stuff. It just he at no point is he somebody you ever want around you.
No, I wouldn't. I don't want to hang out with any of these people.
No.
I don't know who I'd hang out with if I lived on D-Dog, if I hang out on Mother Base. But all of these people are really unpleasant. And yes, it's a villain origin story. But also, man, it sucks spending time with them and wanting to learn about their stories when they all suck so fucking bad. I guess Ocelot's okay, this version of Ocelot. I don't like the other Ocelot, but I could sit down and learn some cowboy jokes.
Yeah. I could say, he knows a few. Yeah. No, just if you can forget what Ocelot does for a living, it's probably he would be the most personable one. Kind of like he actually like makes jokes, not like yuck him up kind of deals, but him and Big Boss have a rapport. Even here where Big Boss never talks.
He's in it way less than Kaz is. Kaz spends a lot more time talking to you than Ocelot does. Mm-hmm. And in the actual gameplay, they fulfill really similar purposes. Mm-hmm. Like briefing you and telling you about your mission objectives.
Yeah.
Like the editor and me would have one of these characters. Mm-hmm.
Or differentiate them more. Like they're different. They're almost always at odds in a way that makes it like, if you're relying on this silent blood covered demon to keep this incredibly dangerous organization together, and it's very clear, if you weren't here, it's these two people who hate each other's guts who would immediately turn this on itself. The
good and bad side of Big Boss. He is a noble soldier. The troops, you land, the troops put Kaz on a gurney, and he's all dramatic. He gets up in your face, is talking about how they're going to get him back and build their army. We get a little tutorial here on Mother Base, and the Fulton system. Yeah. So like, try using your Fulton on that soldier. Yeah. They'll like it. Don't worry.
They enjoy it when you dump truck them to the steel deck
in the throat. Doing non-lethal stuff on your soldiers is always good. So you go and punch some dudes in the throat.
And then give them a balloon ride. And then you call the chopper and you go into your aerial command center, getting your list of possible missions. The goal being right now to just go and do some wet work in order to build up Mother Base's funds. I will always be down with like, we need resources we need resources. Let's go do some short stories that don't have to do with anything really huge.
I love mercenary work in a video game.
Yes.
I wish there was more of that. And I like it whenever this game is having me do mercenary work.
We've got 3 options, all of which are kind of introductions to different kinds of missions. I'm just doing them here in number order. We've got a hero's way. Somebody has hired us to kill this leader of a Soviet detachment that has been slaughtering these local guerrillas. We're headed to Shago Village for this one.
Yeah. The Soviets are who have occupied Afghanistan.
Yes.
Here, and you can learn about that length if you'd like. There is, this is basically stuff we talked about in the intro.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you identify the commander. If you scope him, he's the commander, you know, I'll let you know. And this has a lot of like kind of low ruined walls that allow you to get closer to this central intact building. A lot of stealth that I saw some YouTuber refer to this, and I can't not think of it as Jurassic Park stealth, like the kitchen scene from Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
You know, you do a lot of Jurassic Park stealth.
There's an awful lot, but yeah, it is basically just like sleeking to the other side of a kitchen island as somebody walks around it, not really paying attention. Yeah. Yeah. As long as you're managing the watchtowers, you're fine on this one, making your approach. C2W is one where you're destroying gear. There's this comms post that you need to sabotage. That's real funny. They say information warfare isn't just about killing people. Sometimes you need to stop them from transferring information.
You got a point there, buddy.
Yeah.
So this is cool because you don't have your full complement of explosive things.
Right.
This mission would be trivial later in the game. Here, though, you have to infiltrate this communication post, and your explosive here are grenades. You know, so you have to kind of roll those under. This was one of the first ones where I went loud. I did not have C4 at this point, so I couldn't place them all and detonate them all at once. I had to roll a grenade, alert the base, and then go hide out while they're investigating that one and blow up the next one. Very comical for the people at the base who were like running over to one exploding thing only for something to explode behind them, running over to that, and then running over to something else.
Yeah. Just like, oh, why does this keep happening today?
It's in the landing zone where you go, this is where we meet D-Dog.
Yeah, he's a little puppy who is lovable. You folded him back to Mother Base. I don't know why you couldn't just pick him up and caress him in your arms when you got back into the helicopter.
You just had to spine snap him into. It's because you have to prepare him for all the torture that Ocelot's going to do to get him on your side.
I know, right?
Yeah.
For a moment, I want to talk about C2W, the extreme version of it. Just when you repeat this in the, again, unforgivable second chapter of this game, my approach to this, because you're without the reflex mode and because everything is, tuned really hard, it's just high difficulty mode. Instead of getting in and doing explosives, I was just like, all right, I'm going to start at the far end. I set it up like a teardown level. Start at the far end. And just have an escape vehicle ready. You can just shoot the dishes with your assault rifle and go. So I was like, no. I crash moored through it, just like firing as many bullets as I could.
Don't save any
things apart.
Chief. Yeah.
Yep, just constantly on the run, and like I just barely made it out.
That's great.
Yeah.
I imagine if using airstrikes and stuff would really work well on this as well.
Oh,
which is real overkill, but funny.
But I get results.
We should talk about D-Horse a little bit since this is the companion we have.
Yes.
At this point, and we just so you brought the puppy back to Mother Base. You'll just get little cutscenes on a timer, basically, that will show him growing up into a dog. Where you can use them. Right now, we just have the horse. The horse is mostly transport, but the cool thing is it can be used as a distraction. So if you park it somewhere, or if you park in the middle of the road, like a car will stop and have to get out, you can hide. You can lean on one side of it, like hang off a side of it, and they'll just think it's a wild horse dressed up in whatever silly finery you gave it. You know, like, oh, that's just a freestanding cowboy horse. And then it's ultimate. All these things level up through like loyalty ability things. Like, if you use them and you do certain things, they'll like it. And if you let them get hurt, they won't. If you level it all the way up, it will shit on command, which can make vehicles spin out.
Yeah. Very funny.
Yeah. Which is cute. Do it. Kiefer Sutherland grunts. And the horse knows exactly what that means.
Oh, it's a fun party trick. Very good.
Big sloppy horse. The next mission, Over the Fence, Miller wants you to rescue an engineer. It's the same engineer who made your prosthetic arm. So if we get him, we'll be able to upgrade our prosthetic arm. Only man who can do it.
Yeah, and he's the only man who can even maintain it. So
Yes.
this is just an introduction to the idea that certain recruits will have special abilities. Like there's a whole series of sidearms about getting like a progressively more legendary gunsmiths. Like you get one, he says, "Oh, you think I'm good? You ain't seen shit yet."
Yeah. Yeah. Whatever that trope is, that just like, the legendary best craftsman trope thing is just like, and just this escalating arms race.
Yeah.
Of the best of a thing.
Well, that's one of the funny jokes about Danganronpa is just like the weird shit that they have ultimates of.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. It's the ultimate jock and the ultimate, nerd and ultimate drama student and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So you get here eventually. This base has 2 levels. The lower parts are connected to the upper parts by this narrow road that you can go through. And the prisoner, we eventually find him. He's in this bombed out building opposite of crew barracks here.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get him, but he's inside. So you have to grab him, but you have to sneak him outside so you can Fulton him up.
Yeah.
You can't just, and you can, all these people you Fulton, you can actually just carry to the helicopter if you want. Every once in a while, they'll be like, they're wounded. You have to carry them, which makes extraction a puzzle.
Yeah. You're not, you can only use your sidearm if you do that.
Yes.
Yeah. This is the mission, like getting up that road. That's a bottleneck. So I snuck into the back of a Jeep as it was passing by. And just let them drive and get me in. Yeah.
You are basically, when you're crawling in this game, you're so close to invisible, at night, like you can basically never be seen if you're on your belly in this. There is a camouflage system in this game that's part of your development. Yeah. And you can get those things and deploy with them.
It feels so marginal.
I bet you I could imagine it making more of a difference on extreme difficulty.
Yeah.
I ended up I unlocked the sneaking suit and used that to make less noise. And then eventually just went to the battle dress.
Yeah.
Like the armor.
By that time you're fighting tanks single-handedly. Like, you need those ceramic plates in there
and skulls and shit. And we didn't talk about this. This probably should have been generalities. You have regenerating health in this game, but you get serious injuries. Serious injuries, as opposed to being this complicated system that they had in Metal Gear 3, it's a little cutscene where your guy screams at the camera as you spray deodorant on your wound. You spray off the deepest woods off on your wound, and you scream. This actually lowers your maximum health. When you get one of these,
they really could have explained the health system better.
Yeah, there's no way to see it as far as I can tell. No numerical display of it. But having regenerating health means it's a video game. Like you hide under cover, you wait for it to come back.
What's very funny about this is like they decided, we want to get rid of the ration based healing because that's not realistic.
I know. I saw that on TV tropes. Like they're going to go with a more realistic ration based healing.
Or they just like, we want it to be realistic, so we're going to so you need to sneak off to where people can't find you, and then just do your best impersonation of a when you nut but she's still sucking meme.
They wanted the realism that came with the healing system of Resident Evil. Like a little spray bottle will basically fix you up.
Can I get something in a miracle spray? Or resetting your own dislocated limbs, which mirror neurons. Ooh.
Yeah, it's not fun. The dislocated limb thing. But so you eventually get this guy outside. He's your guy. He's going to unlock that upgrade path. Those are cool. They're useful. The arm things you can get.
Yeah.
This introduces to our first like story heavy mission. Where do bees sleep? You can kind of break this game up based on where the skulls appear.
Yes. Yeah.
Like it's serious time when you're just doing fun mercenary stuff. And then if you want to do the worst boss fight you've ever played in a video game, here comes the skulls.
And it's the same one every time.
It's the same one every time. And it always sucks absolute balls. And eventually it's not optional.
Yeah.
Here, the CIA they've provided the Mujahideen. I pronounced that correctly the first time, and I'm been recording for a long. Mujahideen. Yeah. We've been recording for a long time with this powerful weapon called the Honeybee. Obviously, Stinger, a missile thing. But the Soviets are closing in on where it's been kept, so you have to go in and secure it.
We can just take it for ourselves. Yoink!
It's up to you. You can take it. There's a special goal for like not using any of the ammo in it, and you can give it back to the CIA. I had to develop this. I didn't keep it. They said you told me to use it to fight the skulls, and I'm like, fuck this, I don't want to fight the skulls.
Yeah, I want to use this against a fun enemy.
I never used this. I just eventually got another missile launcher and never ended up using the honeybee.
Yeah, it's just a homing missile launcher. Lets you jump that curve a little bit easier. But
yeah,
I like for me leading a shot on a rocket launcher. I don't know if it's all that Team Fortress I played, but that feels good to me. So, if you have to use a homing one, that's fine. But I just kind of feel bad for you. It's just kind of a pity.
I know scope.
Yeah. But this is in kind of a different environment. We can try and get there, but the road ends, and this is kind of being kept in almost like a basin canyon. You have to climb through like a little crack in it to get in there. This is a large canyon where one side is all these ruins, that were previously just built directly into the rock, and there's a base camp at the foot of it,
and there are a cave system inside it.
Yes.
That's where the honeybee is. You have to sneak into this base camp, and really well guarded. I hear. When you get the honeybee inside here, when we leave, Psycho Mantis appears and a huge mecha hand grabs you. The mecha hand looks like it's made of ruins. I thought there's gonna be some like Legends of the Hidden Temple, Olmec shit. So not religiously, but like made of.
Right.
The living monolith kind of stuff. And Skullface pops out to taunt you, You have more history than even and he gets picked up by a Metal Gear that roars like a dinosaur and leaves the canyon.
Yeah, roars like a dinosaur as they do, but is named after a hominid.
Yeah, that wasn't discovered in the time this game was set, but then there's a lore explanation for like it was discovered. But then
they hid it from you.
Skullface covered up the discovery of a thing that Kojima read on Wikipedia. He's that kind of villain.
But he's whisked away by a Metal Gear that we can't even see the full body because of the mist that's here. And then we got the skulls. And we're given an option, and we have something that will let us, kill one of them at the very least. You've got this honeybee. Again, these are not fun to fight. We should describe what they are. We really should. Yeah.
They're going to show up a lot.
Yeah, so these are super soldiers that all have kind of the same appearance. They've got like this lifeless skin that is obviously been like surgically modified. It's also like they've got this gray skin, and they're wearing almost like BDSM gear, kind of like harness kind of deals. They summon weapons from what feels like magical space, like they would be like nanomachines in a later game, but I don't know where they get it.
It's parasites here.
Yes, it's parasites here, really, because it's just find and replace.
Yeah, it's find and replace. So they used to, whenever Kojima wants something magical to happen, he used to do nanomachines. Now it's parasites. Same thing though, effectively. Like, I don't care. He loves having the same thing have a different name.
Yeah.
It's like the most fun thing in the world to him. It's vitamins. So it's parasites. So they can summon those, and they can summon armor.
Yeah.
So the incredibly hardy enemies, all that stuff is fine. Like a soldier that is like a regular soldier, but tougher. The thing that I think fucking sucks about them is they teleport.
Yep.
They teleport if you're trying to engage them, so they'll dodge things. And if you try to run, they will keep up with you by teleporting. You can run. Like, it's not like it's impossible to run, but they make it difficult by shooting you and keeping up with you by teleporting. I think that breaks and kind of betrays the fundamental, like, what this game is about. Slow infiltration, choosing your own angle of attack and method of attack, and aiming in this game is not fast.
Right.
There's not an auto aim in this game. You have to line up your shot. These guys leaping around when you're trying to do that, when they have so much armor that they basically take damage from missiles.
Only take damage from missiles. Like you'd have to call in supply drops if you're trying to do it with small arms. Yeah.
They just huge bullet sponges, and they always appear in groups of like 5 or more.
And they move synchronously. So you're trying to like fight one, but then you try and reload, and then 4 of them will teleport, line up, and then fire their weapons at you all at once. These, and even if you're in a vehicle trying to drive away, they'll just do that teleport stomp on it. Like, whatever you are doing, they can immediately cancel that animation and possibly kill you in one hit.
Yes, they want you to do a certain thing. It is very contrary to the spirit of the game. IMO.
you can sneak. Like I have snuck around them. There's one particular mission where like I kind of pull one. I pull one over on them. It's like it's fine there, but it really does. It doesn't line up with the best things about this game, and in fact, kind of just feels like a little frustration tax. It is some turbulence that doesn't need to be there.
And that mission is singular. All the other times where they're introduced in a cutscene where you have no way to avoid it. And that one, they show up and you spot them before they spot you, so you can sneak past. Every other time, though, they just blow up, like they come out of a party pinata in a cutscene, and oops, now you're dealing with them.
Yeah,
it's the sweaty controller of this game, not like feeling like it's really important that you have this confrontation now.
Yeah.
And it's not, let me have my own feelings from playing the game, sir.
Please.
The other thing they can do is they always have ads because they reanimate soldiers as zombies.
Yes.
So there's always going to be dudes taking pot shots at you who are not the skulls.
Or they've got grab attacks and they can get around you.
Yes.
If you're focused on these teleporting supermen.
It's a really huge, every time they show up, it is a big difficulty spike.
Yeah.
Even if you're escaping, it's hard. Other than the one you're referring to, which is the sniper one, which has its own problems, but like it's difficult. Big difficulty spike. And they're always Kojima missions. He loves these guys. He thinks they're important somehow. He thinks they're real cool, and he wants you to think that, and he cannot handle the idea of you getting out of this game without experiencing them the way he intended.
Yeah.
It is a dark artur expression, I think.
This idea is expressed better in Death Stranding with the BTs that are there, but that is almost, it's avoidable in every instance I can think of. There are probably exceptions, but like that is specifically put there as a complication to pathfinding, because everything in that game is about pathfinding.
Yeah. This, I am bothered when I have reached an empowerment curve and I'm mastering a system of something, and I'm in control of the situation, and then control is just taken away from me in a cutscene.
Yeah.
I didn't do any, and that happens constantly in this game. I didn't fuck up. The game just decided it's time for the plot for me to be caught.
Yep.
I think that rots. Yeah. So I just run away in this. You can fight them with the honeybee. That's what, what the cowboy tells you. That's what Ocelot says to do. But you can also just run away. And once you get out of the mist, they can't follow you. They're boss hog at the county line.
Yeah. And that's where we're going to leave it for today. There's going to be a lot of story next time we're going to get through, but those generalities, this weirdly makes for a strange pair with Final Fantasy 12. Having done it so recently, in terms of being large, more entries in large series that are more mechanically interesting than their peers, but in a way that kind of reveals by contrast the way that the peers in the series don't rise up to it. Yeah.
Yes. We are going to spend a lot of time just saying what the premise of a mission is. And then you basically Metal Gear 5 your way through it. Like, we'll talk about upgrades as you get there and stuff, but something that a lot of people criticize this game for was having a real samey loop, which just didn't hurt me because I thought the loop was really good.
Yeah.
Agreed.
That loop is heaven, and it's the format of the show is like it cuts a little unfairly against a game that expresses its fun in this way, which is like we're necessarily going to talk about the story stuff more so than anything else, when the thing that you are spending the vast majority of your time doing is actually transcendent.
Yes. Yeah. Agreed. So thanks everybody for listening. We appreciate you. Thank you, Jade, for suggesting this. I love a chance to finally talk about this stuff and air out these feelings and feel them. If you have anything to say about this month's games, which are Bugsnax, Metal Gear Solid 5, or Carrion, go to duckfeed.tv/contact by September 15th.
Yeah. If you have thoughts about multiple games, please write in with multiple responses, one per. That helps us out. Also, try and keep it to about 2 paragraphs and keep it specific. That helps us read more people's read more people's responses. If you have thoughts about October's games, it's a fun horror month, which are Devotion, Strangeland, or The Evil Within 2. Write in by October the 15th. Again, duckfeed.tv/contact.
Your other homework assignment is to play Devotion.
Yeah,
the game rocks. It's 3 hours. It is a real contender for walking sim. Like,
oh yeah,
the beginner's guide is my favorite walking sim. Devotion's great.
Yeah,
it's a really good game. I was really happy you brought that to our attention, Cole. Super good. If you are a non-straight white cis dude and you have a project and you'd like us to highlight it, you can send me an email at Gary@Duckfeed.tv. This episode, I'd like to talk about a game that's coming out just tomorrow, actually, as the time we're recording this. Yeah. Poignant. 9 Noir Lives, which is a kind of comedy point and click adventure game. Coming out on Steam. Looks real cool. Cats, cartels, and their release date. Lick, laugh, love, and explore the world of feline, comedy, and mystery. This is made by Daniel and his husband, who reached out. They've been working on this for years. It's just a small indie team, just from, and they're from South Africa. And they made this game that looks real cool.
Yeah.
So check that out. It's got real charming art and is a fun premise.
Yeah, and there's a demo that is compatible with any number of operating systems, so give it a shot. You have no excuse not to.
Absolutely. So that is 9 Noir Lives, launching September 7th. So by the time you hear this, it'll already be out, and you can check out the demo. And if you also have something like that, you'd like to end up in the highlight zone, again, that's Gary@Duckfeed.tv. Always happy to do these.
Yeah. And then otherwise, patreon.com/DuckFeedTV and leaving ratings or reviews. All of that helps. We'll be back next week with the remainder of Metal Gear Solid 5, rounding out the story. We still haven't met or talked about Huey, and I've got thoughts. So
yeah, we got to talk about Huey. We got to talk about the Skull Snipers' butts being on display, and we have to talk about the speech.
We do
13-minute Jeep. The villain screaming his themes in your face.
Yeah,
during a 13-minute uncontrollable Jeep ride
with a slight break in the middle to listen to a song. Then it picks back up.
The most Jonathan Blow thing I've ever seen in my life. Hey, I like this song. You, the player, also will like this song, except it's not optional. Unlike Jonathan Blow, you have to do this.
It's fun and mandatory.
Sweaty, slimy little insecure man.
Oh gosh.
What should they watch out for until next time, Cole?
Oh, I can't think of one that's not tasteless. So just watch out for each other.
Watch out for each other.